any excuse to use that. I'm always about it. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all well on this glorious Sunday afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. Um, I am here. I am back. I have some fires to put out in terms of the late night grin and the damage done by certain young guns and I have to say, a venomous oracle of wrestling who led them down some truly dark paths on Friday night. And I'm just generally kind of going to hang out. I've been off for the most part. I mean, I say for the most part because I've kind of been around a lot, if we're being honest. But um, I've been resetting for much of the last week, and so I thought this would be a fun chance to do a free Hulbert House show. I see many members in the chat. Shout out to all of you, and shout out to everyone who's joining. It's been a while since I did one of these free, so I will be fun to do like a little bonus show. Work through my own Bert Bracket, like literally my own bracket. Have some fun with that. Maybe plan some, or announce some things, talk about some things, talk through some things, some changes with the late night grin. Not many changes. I know in the late night grin's history, there have been so many. I think we have as many reboots and restarts as Total Non-Stop Action. To be honest with you, I think we have to be close. So there's nothing dramatic. There's a few small things that I've kind of been working on. Maybe we'll get to talk about them some today. Um, but the main topic of our show tonight is going to be the bracket. That's the main plan. What size ring does Joel Promotions have? Actually, I believe in 18 by 18. That's WCW. That's like to me that's the correct ring size. I know 20 by 20 sounds sexier, and Steve Austin likes saying 20 by 20, but he even used to say 18 was like ideal. It's a better working ring. Um, we have some business here. Our friend Bombs has gifted 5 LNG Gold memberships. If you got one of these membership, please thank Bombs. The amount of shows on LNG Gold is kind of crazy. I think Bombs can attest. Loyal supporter of the Grin. Um, and you'll see her name here on our wonderful banner of all of our top tier, the Grin of Gold members. So yeah, if you got one of those, please thank Bombs. But we're running wild on gold. I mean, this last week was my week off, and I think there was still a show every day because the young guns, rose to the occasion, and I had some tape stuff too. So there was lots going on. It was a good time. So hopefully, if you are new to the gold, you will enjoy the ride. It should be fun. And thanks again to Bombs. Okay, I want to quickly circle back to this too. Firstly, thank you, and secondly, absolutely, please do if you can comment it so I can like screenshot and send it to Matt because otherwise I'll forget. This is a TEW thing. For those of you unaware, we're doing a series every week. 2001, if WCW had lived, and we're kind of booking our way through it. Steve Corino's getting a big push. The works, these are the things we're up to over on Gold. Okay, so as I said, my focus today is going to be the bracket. However, this is still a Hulbert House show, and for those of you who haven't seen one of these before, I assume most of you are like, there's a lot of members in the chat, so I'm sure most of you are familiar. But for those of you that are not, it's generally a Q&A show. Now, it's going to be slightly different today because I'm doing this bracket thing. However, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I will try my best to answer them. They don't have to be super chats. Obviously, if you want to send a super chat, you're more than welcome, but certainly don't feel the need to. I try and answer questions to the best of my ability. I know I haven't been live and free in a bit too, so like if there's anything you want to talk about, feel free to put it in the chat. If I miss it, I'm not ignoring you. I just am focusing on this bracket. So I'll try my best. All right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to see how long it goes, and then I'm going to talk about some other business, I think. I did see the New Orleans. I mean, they've done 2 manias, right? Like, one of them is one of the best WrestleManias ever, and the other one is one that I went to. So, make of that what you will. But, yeah, return to the scene of the crime is kind of crazy, I must say. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to like actually have some, kind of give my own take on these, and I'll do a bracket as I go. But my main thing is more, I think there's some fun matchups here that I was a little bit jealous of the boys I couldn't give my viewpoint on. Now, before I go any further on this, I was just for a moment put all the bits aside to say I actually thought Friday's show was Very, very fun. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It really was very funny. Oracle was in rare form. Manny the Hooper was not in rare form. He was in Manny the Hooper form. And the Young Guns, watching them kind of combat this format was fascinating and arranged. Caden Lee had prepared speeches for everyone, which meant the show went about an hour longer than it needed to. I mean, it was just a great time. It was a great time. I recommend it. And they did ultimately reach a very satisfying result, and a result that, if I'm honest, I'm not sure I'll be reaching tonight, with Samoa Joe being the winner. He won via coin toss on that program. So go check that out. I will be obviously taking a slightly different approach. Now, the way that I viewed this and the way that I set this up was, to me, this meant something very different to what it meant to my cohorts on the late night Grin. Okay, so I said that, to me anyway, the idea should be a GM mentality. Now, here's the beautiful thing about wrestling: it's very subjective, and apparently so is that mere thought of the GM, like what that means. You can take it in many different ways, I guess, right? And as it sort of evolved, and, shout out Gabe Sapolsky, and it sort of unfolded, there began to creep in some, frankly, emerging trends, I found. The Oracle of Wrestling is going to do the Oracle of Wrestling. I mean, he's going to observe in this Oracle of Wrestling way. He's going to look at the career's peaks and valleys. He's going to talk about, the match catalogue, the output, the consistency, the resume, all the above. He's the Oracle of Wrestling. But the Young Guns, because of the sheer charisma of the man, they got sort of lured into this. And suddenly it seemed to be that a spreadsheet was appearing on the screen, and it became sort of like a DVD compilation, bracket. So I'm going to try and approach this more direct with what I believe to be the sort of logic and the rules of playing this thing. I think I'm going to try anyway. We'll see how that goes. But let's dive in here. So first things first. There are too many matchups to waste a ton of time. Roxanne Perez is awesome. I love her. She's obviously not getting past Samoa Joe here in round one. Samoa Joe obviously was making out round one. Roxanne Perez, tremendous talent. If you're thinking GM mode, she's a great piece. She's a serious piece, but she's not Samoa Joe. I don't think I have to explain this. We love Roxanne Perez. Shout out to her. She was very good in that match. I thought she was the best person in the match last night by actually a pretty decent distance. Okay, the next matchup. This one got more play than I expected. We had Jacob Fatu and Buddy Matthews. Now, I love Buddy Matthews. I think his work is just so pleasing on the eye, so dynamic, very explosive. Obviously has that spectacular build. As Contrarian Alex would say if he was sitting alongside me here, great set of tits on him. I'm a fan. I like him a lot. But from a GM point of view, I can find guys who take great flatbacks and land on their head a lot. Jacob has got, there's some money to Jacob, right? There's a dynamite to Jacob Fatu. There's something that jumps off the page with Jacob Fatu. I mean, there's just a raw charisma and magnetism that we've all loved to my friend Buddy, whom I'm a huge fan of. I mean, he was higher seed here than Jacob for a reason. I don't think he has that. Even if he has the tits, I don't think he has the magnetism quite. I don't think he's got that level of physical charisma, if I'm being truthful. So with that in mind, I thought this was pretty easy. And while I appreciate Oracle shouting out Buddy's work, I think it's pretty clear that Jacob needed to advance here from round one. Okay, let me just do this one thing and then I'll be back with you. But yeah, see, again, you're seeing difference in approach here, folks. Now, again, that doesn't mean there's a wrong approach, but it's a difference in approach, and I think that's okay. For those of you that are here already, locked in and ready to go, and if you're confident you're going to enjoy this show, please follow the advice of Bob O'Neill and smash the like button, which he's very excited about telling you should only do it once. This is my first time telling you. I'll try and keep that in mind. But yeah, hit the like button or smash it or do whatever it is you like to do with the like button. Okay. So, Samoa Joe, Jacob Fatu. Up next, this one was very funny. Machine Gun Carl Anderson um, taking on Bobby Lashley. I was pretty bummed out about this matchup. I didn't work these matchups, I'm being sincere. This was my evidence for that. Machine Gun was a 5 seed because it was seeded based on JHP stature. He's obviously a higher, in the Hulbert heart, he's higher, but that would be the only way he'd be seeded above a Bobby Lashley. Obviously, it goes without saying. And I didn't like his chances here, Machine Gun Carl Anderson. However, the lads seemed to sort of take a sort of sympathy approach to this, and they sent him on through. Now, I will not be doing that here. This is, again, I'm trying to take all emotion out of this, folks. I'm being clinical. I'm being very, very deliberate here with my choices. I love me some Machine Gun Carl Anderson, friend of the program, but Bobby Lashley is box office, okay? I mean, it is what it is. I'm not here to I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not here to con you. I'm here to be honest. I'm here to be direct. I'm taking Bobby Lashley here. Carl Anderson is a better worker mechanically, far better, I think, actually, mechanically. Very, very pretty fundamentals. Very, very gifted professional wrestler. Very good tag team wrestler. Bobby Lashley is a drawing card. If you got a clue, you can make money with Bobby Lashley. Okay. Bobby Lashley is advancing here. And also, Bobby Lashley ended up having some really good matches, I like Bobby Lashley a lot. Up next, Dax Harwood, Rocky Romero. Two of my favourite guys to watch wrestle. Both awesome. Rocky Romero, I thought, got really kind of disrespected on Friday's show, I have to say. I mean, it was just very, very aggressive dismissal from some of the co-hosts. Manny the Hooper in particular just ham-waved Rocky. Rocky Romero has been great for 20 years. What are we doing here? I mean, both guys, two great tag team wrestlers. Rocky has got the more extensive singles exploits. The work in CMLO as of late, of course, stands out. But I mean, look how long Rocky's been a player on the world stage. I thought this was very close. Very, very close. I think both guys actually wrestle with a lot of charisma. I don't think either guy is ever going to be like your sort of tippy-top guy in a fantasy promotion, maybe. But I think they both wrestle with a great deal of personality and physical charisma, even in very different types. I would say... So this is one where it's close enough that I would go. I'd probably go, heart. I'd leave my heart on this one. Because I think they're very close, so I would say I'll take Dax the Axe because I would just, that's one where I would say I'll let that kind of nudge me over the line, Dax Harwood, God, they're so good, both of them. It's a shame their one match against each other was the day after the Briscoes war because I don't think they quite had the weaponry to have the match they're capable of having. Both great. I'll lean Dax. I think this is actually very, very close. I was surprised at how swiftly it was dealt with on Friday night. Give me Dax the Axe, though, for this particular occasion. Okay, up next, we had a bit of a dream match in the JHP bracket. We had Alexa Bliss and JC Jane. Big business, no doubt. This produced what I thought was the funniest part of the whole show on Friday, in which the Oracle of Wrestling sort of very severely approached it and sort of cautiously advanced with the take that JC Jane may be better at this point, which I thought was incredible. Like there was sort of a mob awaiting him, like he was about to be jumped at any moment. JC Jane is awesome. I think obviously in this particular case, you have to take Alexa if we're doing this in like Prime too. Not because she's mechanically better. I think like in her prime, they're not that far apart. But with the promo, the personality, the presence, you got to take Alexa here with all respect to JC Jane. The Alexa Bliss situation gets very, very funny in the next round, as many of you will know that tuned in on Friday. Okay, speaking of such, Roderick Strong and Cash Wheeler. This one isn't close for me. Because Cash, as good as Cash is, and he is really, really good, Roddy Strong is one of the best tag team wrestlers of his generation. So like he kind of checkmates that, and then Roddy has all of the single stuff. And Cash isn't like a dynamite promo, you know. Like it's just this is just a tough matchup for Cash Wheeler. As much as I love him, um, he's not stopping the Messiah of the Backbreaker from advancing through to round two. So far, I've agreed on most of these, right? Most of these, I think, so far. Even if I've disagreed slightly on the the mindset, so to speak. I think as we get deeper in this, there'll be a wider range of results. But for so far, I think we're pretty much on the same page. Up next, we have Andrade and Solo Sikoa. The only argument you could make for Solo is not one I'll be making, which is like he got better as a promo. But I mean, Andrade's a very sexy fella and he's a very good professional wrestler. I think you gotta I mean, he's money. And again, we should note too, when you're talking about this GM mindset, it doesn't necessarily mean what they've done in their career. Like you're comparing them as drawing, as draws. It could also be that you would back yourself. If I was a wrestling booker, I'd back myself to make Andrade an attraction. I mean, I'd be pretty confident you could. There's something to do there with Andrade. I mean, he looks really cool and his wrestling's awesome. So he's just a better piece. You want him on your team. Solo is hilarious, but Andrade is obviously going through. And the last match is also very simple, believe it or not, even though Oracle fought desperately to suggest otherwise. Athena and Doc Gallows is not one that I will be spending tons of time on. I think Athena is a centerpiece for your division. And as much as I love the big LG, I do not think he is going to be the centerpiece of a division anytime soon. So with that in mind, I think this goes without saying this would be Athena advancing through to the second round. There was a lot of Hulbertism talk on Friday. It was quite aggressive. It was quite venomous. I'm not sure what that was rooted in or what we were doing there, but nonetheless, Athena moving through here to the next round. Okay, should we do chat? Should we finish the JHP region or should we finish round one first? It's up to you guys. While you answer this, let me just do one thing. And I'll be back with you in a second. Again, JHP region or the first round of the bracket. And I'll be back here in a mere moment. Good God Almighty. Alright, almost there. By the way, I just watched Canadian Stampede here this evening. And watched it with the whole Bert family. Oh, it's still a beauty. It's still a beauty. Just flies by. Such a just wonderful show. And that main event has got one of the more magical things, honestly, ever in pro wrestling. Right? It has to be. Okay, we're going round by round. All right, cool. We're going round by round. All right, up next in the promotional partners section, Bret the Hitman Hart and Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Please see prior explanation for the Carl Anderson matchup. Bret Hart will be moving on through here to round two. Bret Hart can be the franchise player. I think MJF has shown flashes of franchise player, most certainly, but Bret Hart, I mean, his record and his resume would speak for itself. Very, very reliable force to have as your top babyface. You got to take the Hitman, I feel. So Bret Hart will be advancing to fate, and this was probably maybe my favourite matchup, just to imagine to see it in the first round. Bam Bam Bigelow and Mark Briscoe would be so, just that sounds incredible. That sounds like if you could time machine some ECW shit, that would be the match, right? So I loved this one. I don't think it's particularly close because as much as I love Bam Bam, and I do love Bam Bam, but the idea of Bam Bam is often better than Mark's just so good. I don't think it's a very favourable matchup for old Bama. Even though I'm sure Bret would be thrilled to be able to wrestle him in round two, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. So Mark Briscoe is the better. He's better bell to bell and he's a better promo. And when you consider all of his body of work and what you're getting when you pick Mark Briscoe, put him on your team, tag or singles, he has to go through, I think. And again, I love Bam Bam. I love all these guys. They're on my bracket, But yeah, I would love to see the match. I'm sure it would have been awesome. Jay Briscoe, Chris Statlander, the boys were very swift on this, and I think fairly so. Chris Statlander is awesome, and I think there is a magic to Chris Statlander that we haven't even really uncovered yet, to be honest with you. There's a charm and a sort of likability to her that's I think they need to really figure out the way to tap into that. I think people genuinely like her as a personality. And I think they've shown sort of glimpses of that on TV, but they haven't quite got it to come through yet. I think there's a lot of, a lot to be done with Chris Statlander still. But for now, I mean, Jay Briscoe, the promo, the work, the absolute effort and engine that guy brought, a force of nature. His single work. And I like the thing is at the time, there's some of that stuff that I didn't even think the world of the singles work that is, and I think that stuff's even aged well now, for the most part. So, yes, I'll be taking Jay Briscoe with love to Chris Statlander, who is awesome. Another matchup I would love to see. This would be a great, I guess, Raw main event, 93. Yokozuna and Homicide. So, like, here's where the GM mode thing kicks in, and this isn't just like gate receipts talk. This is just how my brain approaches this. I think Homicide's awesome. All right, the wrestler. he's awesome, dude. There's Yokozuna is like a one-off attraction. You can't. There's not many Yokozunas around. Now look, Homicide's one of one certainly. But I can find someone to do Tope con Hilo. Yokozuna was a freak of nature, dude. I mean, he was a genuine attraction. And that isn't gate receipt talk. To me, that's like asset, assessment. It's like asset assessment. It's like Yokozuna is a singular piece in the business, basically. Because he's different to, I mean, even like a Vader or a Bam Bam, he's different to them, right? The size of Yokozuna and the way that he would move and how graceful he could be in his peak. We're talking about here again in his peak. I think you gotta go Yokozuna here. And to me, that's not gate receipt brain. That's just like he's one of one, dude. He was an absolute genuine novelty. And everyone forgets this because everyone just talks about the Lex Express bombing and all that stuff. Go back and look, dude. Like, Yoko was he drew money up there. He did. He was one of the few guys in that era that people wanted to see. So I think you got to put Yoko on your team, man. I think it's just, it's a must. Now, again, there are some guys who I think are so much better in the skill department that you may counteract that. You may say, yeah, but I can make more money over a longer stretch of time with this guy. But I don't think Homicide's that guy, much as I love him. So Yokozuna is moving on through for me. I was very surprised to see him fail to advance on Friday's program. Up next, the lads had some fun with this one. I was looking at the Oracle of Wrestling closely as he talked about Bobby Roode and Tomohiro Ishii. Ishii was the lower seed because obviously in my brain, like, I like watching Bobby Roode's style more. But I do agree with their conclusion. Like, I think Bobby Roode is very valuable and is very steady and is a great, I actually think he's an all-time great tag guy. I think he's an incredible tag team wrestler. But Tomohiro Ishii is such a safe bet in terms of, like, big matches, And I get what the boys were talking about. Sometimes it can be slightly redundant, the style. But I just think, from a promoter point of view, if you're in a pinch, is there a better card to play than the Tomohiro Ishii match, I mean, it almost always works. And in the right spot with the right opponent, it can do more than work. It can, like, rock the fucking world, It could be an absolute monster. So I just really struggled to... I struggle to see a route of attack here for Bobby Roode. And as much as I like Bobby, I think this was a pretty tough matchup for him. Very nice piece to have. You'd be thrilled to have him on your roster. There's always something you can find Bobby Roode to do, especially in his prime. But I think Ishii is, again, one of the safest bets in wrestling. And I think because of that, I would go to Tomohiro Ishii. I mean, the match itself would probably suck because I just don't think it would really make any sense. But, yeah. I'm going to go Ishii. Almost hesitantly so because I just love me Bob Roode, but I'm going with Ishii. Where are we at so far, Chum? I'm about to finish the one side of this. Are we pro Bert approach, or are we saying the Young Guns had the right idea? Where are we at, chat? Tell me. Okay, this next one. I thought, I gotta be real. I did the timestamps on this program. This one on Friday, I did the timestamps. So I figured out, like, how long every segment, how long every debate went. Brothers, The British Bulldog Eddie Kingston debate was like 40 seconds long, I think, and half of it was Oracle saying I'm fucked. Um, I'm not saying I'm not picking Eddie Kingston here, okay? Eddie Kingston is awesome. He is my two. He's my three seed here in this region. However, the boys just were. This not be hasty with this Davy Boy Smith erasure. I mean, what? Let's just take it easy for a second. I mean, I'm no patriot. I'm no patriot, but the Davy Boy Smith he was a bad man. I mean, he had ups and downs, but we're picking prime for prime. I thought this one was worth talking about. I mean, if I was there, I would have said we should just calm down a little bit. It's a little bit hasty for my liking. Now again, that doesn't mean I'm not picking Eddie Kingston, but I just feel like 1996 British Bulldog was fucking great. Um, the big X factor here, because both guys, I mean, connected with their audience definitely. Obviously, different reasons and different audiences, but they're definitely connected. The biggest gap between them is Eddie's promo is just obviously British Bulldog was not a dynamic speaker. Eddie Kingston is a great promo. I think that would be what I would lean me in his direction. I also do think he's a more unique asset in terms of the way people feel about Eddie Kingston. You know, I think people have a real warm connection with Eddie Kingston. I think people, when he's not around, they miss him in a way that is different. So I do think this one is worth kicking around because I do think Bulldog was very, very good. And at his best, I think was like, you know, again, we're talking peak for peak. Now, granted, you have to obviously think about some of the guys' inconsistencies. I would go with Eddie Kingston, but I do think it was worth more deliberation than the lads attacked with on the program last week. Okay, Eddie Kingston. Moving on. This so far, I think we've got almost all the same results, other than I picked Yoko. Okay, next one I'm going to spend a lot of time on. I love Steve Carino. You're picking Kurt Hennig every day. If Steve Carino was here, he would tell you pick Kurt Hennig. Like, you're obviously picking Kurt Hennig. Steve Carino's awesome. You're picking Kurt Hennig. I mean, it just is what it is. There's no point wasting a lot of time on that. That's fine. Hiroshi Tanahashi and Savio Vega, same thing. The Oracle of Wrestling is an evil man with evil intentions, and he shouldn't be trusted. And the things he did on Friday in terms of damaging Hiroshi Tanahashi's route to glory was absolutely heinous. And we should not forgive him for that. We will, because he's the Oracle of Wrestling. We should not. He's obviously advancing here beyond Savio Vega, and spoiler alert, he will be going quite far in this particular ball game. Savio Vega, awesome. Made the bracket for a reason. Love him. All right, WCW region. The Enforcer, Arn Anderson, Barbarian. Barbarian is a great pro wrestling gatekeeper. Arn Anderson is, I mean, just what a glorious person to have on your professional wrestling roster, right? Like, the audience respects him, so you can flip him babyface if you need him to. He's an incredible, like, supporting player, but he's good enough to be a leading man if it's calls for it. Incredible promo, great matches. The Enforcer on Anderson obviously is going through. Chad's Barbarian. Okay. I'm feeling good so far, guys. I'm feeling good. We're over halfway through the first round. I think I've been logical. I think I've been sound. I think I have tried my best to attack this with reason. I think we're doing okay so far. Arn Anderson will meet the winner of Fit Finlay and Scott Hall. Okay, here's one I think's difficult. And the boys did not seem to agree with me, but I saw Brainbuster thinking about it. I saw Brainbuster kind of flickering. I saw him struggling with this one a little bit. And I appreciate that, and I was proud of Brainbuster. Fit Finlay is an all-time great pro wrestler. I mean, bell to bell, Fit Finlay was magnificent. That incredible physicality and grit that he brought, how much he's worked, how gracefully he's worked, aged. And I do agree with Oracle to bring. I think he's right to bring up like how good Fit was at 50, in his late 50s, 60s. That is relevant because you're picking someone that, he can have him around forever and he'll always be good. The problem is, he's like, what's the best case scenario here? This is the one that I thought was kind of challenging in this way because Fit Finley, it's like, he's going to give you 17 a night. He's just rock solid. But I feel like there's versions of Scott Hall which we saw with Razor Ramon in particular. And granted, they're not as, it's not as deep. His catalogue isn't going to compare to Fit Finley's. But Scott Hall was like, he was so money, man. I mean, the personality, the presence of the man, the sheer physical charisma of the guy, and the fact that his work was, I mean, very aesthetically pleasing, even if it didn't translate to like a, comprehensive list of classics. I thought this was hard for that reason. It's like you're picking kind of a guy who's going to give you very steady output for a long time. And I think the alternative is a guy who I think can be maybe your top guy if things land the way that you want him to. I don't think Fit's ever going to be that for you necessarily. So this one I really struggled with. Really, really struggled with. Especially because Fit is not just like a... Fit's not just like a generic good match guy. He can bring you a very unique good match, quote unquote. Like he's not like a guy who's going to give you this sort of throwaway, disposable banger, which is increasingly in vogue. I think he gives you something completely different for the show. But Scott Hall was really fucking cool, and so for that reason, I'm going rogue, and I'm ignoring my first instinct, and I'm gonna put Scott Hall through here in round one. Wow. I don't feel good about that. See, that's the first one I don't feel good about. I don't feel good about it, but I felt it was the right thing to do. If I get the system right, if I get the right pieces around Scott Hall, he's a top guy for me. I don't know if that's ever going to be Fit Finley. I love him dearly. I'm taking Scott Hall. All right, on and Scott. War Games 96 opening. Give me Scott Hall. Fuck it. I may have lost the people. I don't know. I'm doing what I think's right for this team. Barry Windham. Bill Goldberg. This isn't close for me. I think Barry Windham is honestly one of the best wrestlers of his generation in the States. And Bill Goldberg, while a genuine attraction, you can only use in so many which ways. And I mean, he is awesome. I love me some Bill Goldberg, but it ain't like Barry Windham's like an underneath guy. Barry Windham was the top guy. So I thought this was easy. Barry Windham's soaring through for me. And again, I think a lot of Goldberg. I think he's a blast. But Barry Windham's peak is like one of the best US wrestlers ever, dude. If you can give me mid-80s Barry Windham, 86, whatever, 87, he's one of my top guys. Like, it would be different if it was just purely a work rate mechanic mid-card guy underneath versus Goldberg. You may lean Goldberg's way for what a just magnetic fucking force of nature he was. But because Windham was over huge in his own right, then you look at what they can actually do, and like Windham was great. I mean, everyone should watch more Barry Windham matches. So Barry Windham's definitely going through for me. And I feel good about that. Sting and Meng, obviously, is an easy one. I love Meng. Sting is one of your top guys. You want to take Sting. Big Van Vader and Scott Steiner. Scott is obviously one of the more interesting cases historically because he was, he was like two different people throughout his career. I mean, Scott at the end of his career, or the last decade of his career, whatever, was a personality and promo guy who couldn't really move. And at the start of his career, he couldn't speak and was one of the most dynamic athletes in the history of American wrestling. Was like a full-on high spot wrestler at like 260 pounds. So Scott Steiner is awesome and is a treat to watch, but it's very difficult to see a category in which he would, really put up a good fight opposite Vader, who can kind of tick all the same boxes but actually delivered. Right? I think it's got to be Vader. Up next, this was one of the really controversial ones, and this goes back to what I meant earlier about the GM thing. Dustin Rhodes and Sid Vicious. So obviously Sid Vicious was a bigger star than Dustin Rhodes. My argument would be though that if things just go differently, Dustin Rhodes absolutely would become a star in his own right, and he would do it while cutting better promo. Well, Sid promos was unique things, but Dustin Rhodes is just, I mean, you know, it's just the sheer skill of Dustin Rhodes. I don't want to dismiss Sid. I love Sid, but man, I mean, it's Dustin Rhodes, dude. His work is so much better. His promos are, more conventionally great. We'll leave it at that. He'll remember the opponent more often. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm at here? I mean, Sid's a great squash match wrestler, and again, Sid is a bigger attraction. But how much of that is because Dustin didn't get a chance to naturally kind of evolve into what he was going to be? I mean, if you watch Dustin in 93, 94, like, he absolutely was trending towards being a top guy, I think. So, Dustin Rhodes, to me, this one is where the ability is wide enough that it overcomes the. And again, it's not like Dustin's a guy he can't promo, he has no personality. Dustin had a ton of personality, and especially as clearly as he would get older. So I'm not I'm not going gate receipts on this one. I'm taking Dustin Rhodes, and I'm trusting myself that it'll be worth the gamble. I don't think it's a gamble at all, actually. I think it's quite obviously the right thing to do. Okay, up next, this is one that got really controversial. Oracle is yelling at me and calling me an asshole for this. Lord Steven Regal and Bobby Eaton. Bobby Eaton is a wonderful wrestler, very, very graceful wrestler. Stylistically, certainly, I think more easy on the eye, bell to bell, is Eaton than Regal. And the Midnight Express they drew more money as a collective than anything Regal ever did. The problem is in fear of going off the rails here and turning to different shows, I'm not getting Jim Cornette with Bobby Eaton. And while that is a good thing in many ways, folks, that makes it quite challenging to weigh up the skill sets here. Because the challenge is, I love both these guys. I put Regal in the Dustin Rhodes category. And here's why. I think Regal had all the tools to be a bigger star than he was. I think if you follow some different pathways, if you continue on with Regal, I think he could. To me, he had all the tools. The promo element is not close, obviously, with respect to Bob Eaton. Regal, big fucker too. Obviously, the work was great. Did struggle slightly to translate to the States. That point about the States is an interesting thing to think, kind of consider. It's an interesting thing to consider. I don't think Bobby Eaton's going past this matchup, but he may come out of this particular one, and when I say this matchup, I mean the next round. This one's very tough. This was a sweep on Friday's show, which I thought was a little bit much. It's very challenging to differentiate Bobby as a single asset to what he was as part of the Midnight Express. That's the real question here. What are you weighing this up on? Very challenging. Very, very challenging. And because it's close, because I love the Oracle of Wrestling, I will lean his way and I will send through beautiful Bobby. Because I will say, much as I like watching Regal, if I'm thinking GM cap, let's be real, his style wasn't always for the people in the seats, I can always find something for Bobby Eaton. They, of course, were tag team, too. Their tag team was kind of disappointing, to be honest. They should have had much better matches, but I digress. Up next, I thought this one was, actually really interesting, to be honest. Ravishing Rick Rude and Booker T. Booker T is, I think, among the top wrestlers ever in terms of, skill, and that not necessarily translating to great matches. Because I think Booker T's work is, very, very pretty. His stuff always looks good, and there's a lot of snap and personality and flair to his stuff. I really like watching Booker wrestle. But I don't. If you said to me like the best Booker T matches, I would have no idea. Um, so he's kind of hard to weigh up in this regard. Rick Rude has a very short peak. Like, there's a couple years there at the start of the 90s, and then he falls off dramatically, which if we're doing GM mode, you do have to consider that, right? Even if you're picking them at their peak, it ain't the idea their peak will last forever. Um, hmm. I mean, look, the seeds here speak for themselves, right? 2 and 15. Clearly, I'm a much bigger Rick Rude fan, but I'm trying to be fair. And I do think Booker T, man, he could. I mean, good God, they wasted so many opportunities with Booker in terms of making him a bigger star. And he still became a really big star. I think he's still like kind of an iconic figure. People remember Booker T, right? Which I think says something considering how bad his creative was at times. But gun to my head, and I agree with Andrew, and this match would have been sweet. I just think Rick Rude is better. I just think he's better, straight up, you know. And I can't shake that, even though I'm trying to be fair and logical and even-handed. I just think Rick Rude, if you get that kind of very late 80s, early 90s, the singles, I think you get one of the best heels in wrestling history, and I just think that's above Booker's peak to me. So I would take that direction. I'd send Rick Rude through. So I mean, look, I'm reaching. Just be fair, guys. I mean, that was almost exactly the same as them. Maybe they did better than I thought. I don't know. Okay, SmackDown bracket or region. Obviously, AJ Styles is beating Kurt Hawkins. Had a hell of a match on that Friday, Grin. It was better than their PWG match, certainly. Uncle Alan makes his way through. Up next, Jimmy Uso and Chavo Guerrero Jr. So, right now, here's where we're in with a problem. Because the logic we just used for the Bobby Eaton one is now where we have some trouble. Because we're picking. Now, let me be clear. Let me be very clear. Jimmy Uso is nowhere near as good mechanically as Bobby Eaton. Obviously, I can put Bobby Eaton in a tag team with me in it because I don't know if Jimmy would be in a good tag team with me. You know, I'm aware of that. What I'm getting at is Jimmy. I mean, the Usos are like real. They're like actual wrestling stars now. So this makes this kind of hard. You know, it's more hard than it should be, I guess. Chavo, tremendous wrestler, but it has to be said, as much as I love Chavo, he's good in very, very, very understated ways. He's not someone who's going to kind of tear the house down for you on great occasion, or with great consistency, I should say. Instead, he's kind of steady and trusty. Not particularly strong promo. You could probably say he's a little bit bland, a little bit dry. If we're being fair, if we're being honest. And say what you will about Jimmy Uso, he ain't bland or dry. He's certainly not. I mean, he's fucking ridiculous at times. Some of the stuff he does looks terrible, but I think the people like Jimmy Uso, you know? I think I can. God, this just feels ridiculous where I feel like I'm trending right now. Someone stop me. This is the problem with doing this solo. You can go in dangerous paths, you know, dark alleyways, and suddenly it's just very scary. I just, I love watching Chavo Jr. wrestle, you know, but I feel like I can replace Chavo Jr. Jimmy Uso is one of those guys. He's sitting on the end of your bench in the playoffs. You look over to him and go, Jimmy, give me what you got, bro. And he may make a big shot, you know? He may. He may. Sometimes you need a guy on the team, you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know what he's going to do. He's Jimmy Uso. He's Jimmy Uso. He's going to try his best. And with love and respect to my boy, Chavo Jr., who is so steady and so reliable and so valuable. He's never been in the top 10 Mattel action figures of a month, so for that reason, Jimmy Uso is advancing here on the Bert Bracket. And this is all traced back to me. to me this is all traced back to me acknowledging the drawing power of Bobby Eaton as part of the Midnight Express, to be clear. Fuck it. Jimmy Uso, welcome to the team. He's meeting AJ Styles in the next round, so it's not really. Okay, this next one, I have to be real. And I get what the boys were going for. I do understand what they were saying completely. I am on a different line of thinking entirely with the next matchup. Randy Orton and The Undertaker, 5 seed versus 12 seed. Okay. So, the way the boys attacked this was, and let me be clear, I get it, was Randy is consistency, Undertaker is higher peak, lower floor. And I agree with it in the sense that Undertaker has years where he doesn't have any good matches. But I don't think that's a fair reflection of their performances. I would argue it's actually the opposite in some ways. Now, let me be clear, The Undertaker has some really bad shit. But I think Randy Orton performed well within himself far more often than The Undertaker did. I would argue that Randy Orton, for years wrestled at a level far lower than his skill and his ability level. I don't know if I would accuse The Undertaker of that. I think The Undertaker was a victim of trying to wrestle as a gimmick and then having some of the worst opponents imaginable. I don't know if I would consider him someone who regularly kind of phoned it in or fell short of his own potential. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys would feel. I wouldn't consider The Undertaker that way, personally. He was really beat up at times and certainly had bad stretches, and at the end of his career was terrible. But I don't know, man. Randy at times just chose not to be good. I think they're both weird wrestlers, right? Historically. Now, I mean, obviously, look, you can see it 5 seed versus 12 seed. You don't get a prize for guessing which one of these guys I prefer. I mean, I love watching Randy's work, and I'm not. There are long stretches of Undertaker I don't really care for at all. But I'm going to be real, and I'm a completely different approach here than the guys, which is fine. I mean, that's the beauty of this. All jokes, bits aside. I would take The Undertaker here, and the reason I would is, again, using that GM mindset. Dude, Randy Orton he would infuriate you. I don't know. I think The Undertaker's I think you can rely on him to give you what he has. And sometimes what he has isn't the best. And sometimes, if the matchmaking's not up to it, he won't be able to drag guys out of that hole. But I just feel could you imagine having Randy Orton on your team? How fucking frustrating that would be for long stretches of his career? He's output, I feel like Taker's, I can rely on him more, which is weird because that's the opposite argument to what the boys made, right? Which, again, let me be clear, it just shows you it's fun to kind of do this stuff and kick around. I'm taking Undertaker, man. I'll have him on my team, personally. I feel like I can put Taker in a lot of different spots and he'll give me what he has. I feel like Orton could be an absolute nightmare. And not in a sort of be a good boy way. I mean more in the sense of what his performance is going to be. I think you can't rely on him in the same way. I'm going to go with The Undertaker. And again, 12 seed being the 5 seed. So I'm trying to be fair here. Up next, Christian and Rusev. I think Rusev's awesome. I think he's super talented. And I think if he wants to, he still has a lot of value if he wants to play a part in wrestling. But Christian Cage is fucking awesome. And you can do so much with Christian Cage. He could be a top babyface, top heel. He's a great tag wrestler, obviously. He can talk. He can give. Christian Cage is so valuable. You got to take Christian Cage. That one's easy. The next one is easy too. It popped me huge. It went the other way though because I do love me some MVP. You got to take the Big Show over MVP. This would be like the Yokozuna argument. The Big Show don't grow on trees. I mean, the Big Show is a legitimate giant who could have actual good wrestling matches. I love MVP. I think he's awesome. Especially as a manager, I think he's been fucking terrific. But you have to take the Big Show, right? You have to. I mean, a shoot giant who can have good matches. It's fucking crazy. There's hardly any of them in the history of the business. The Big Show. Big Show at your best was very, very good. Okay, another easy one up next, of course, Eddie and JBL. This, I used it for the thumbnail because I love their matches, but obviously JBL will be the first one to tell you that Eddie Guerrero wins, like clearly. Um, this next matchup was a quirky one. It's got some debate going. Mickey James and Dolph Ziggler. I know that Mickey James once said that Dolph was like the second coming of Shawn Michaels, which it always popped me how often folks would say that and how much Shawn would clearly resent it. But both pretty big marks for each other's shit, so like this is just kind of quirky, and them being in the same thing is weird to me, even though they've wrestled in this. They've basically, you actually think timeline wise, they've basically been parallel year wise, right? Um, Obviously, a fan of both, goes without saying at this point. I think Mickey James is more interesting as a personality and as a character, to be honest. I think she can do stuff as a character that Dolph never really showed the ability to do. Mickey can be very, very likable as a babyface and can obviously do some crazy shit as a heel. Dolph obviously has, I would presume, a deeper catalogue, but I don't know. I think if you're looking from like an asset point of view, I kind of think what Mickey gives you for your women's division is like more novel and dynamic than what Dolph gives you with the dudes. I know that makes sense to you guys, but I guess what I'm saying is like if I'm building a roster, I feel like what Mickey James could give me in the women's division is more valuable than what Dolph would bring me from kind of a singular point of view in terms of the men. I think it makes sense in my brain anyway. I feel like Mickey's actually pretty. I mean, she can talk. She has kind of classical babyface work. I got Mickey James here. To be honest with you, I'm pretty. The more I talk about it, the more I think about it. I'm taking Mickey James here. Um, I think, yeah. I mean, it'd probably be a pretty good match. I'm gonna go with Mickey James. Fuck it, feels right. And the last one is easy. Ray Jr. obviously is beating Bob Holly. This produced an incredible moment on Friday's show in which Manny said, "I don't really get the Bob Holly bit," which was just wonderful. He actually said the bit that the guys do around here, something to that effect, which was tremendous. All right, we've finished round one. Two things, chat. If you didn't like the video earlier, now's the time. If you did like it earlier, you can do it again, but you have to do it third time. Chat, how are we feeling so far? How are we feeling? Let's get a temp check. Jimmy Uso may have been controversial, but I think generally we're doing okay. I don't know what we think in chat. I mean, I feel like we're. It feels there's a little bit of danger ahead. I can sense, but for the most part, I think we're doing okay. Things are about to get really bad, so I want to do this now. Kind of see if we have any confidence left. I think we're doing better, but we shall see. I feel round two is gonna really cause some trouble. Okay, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. All right. JHP region, round two. Samoa Joe, Jacob Fatu. I think this is easy because Jacob is box office and dynamite and all that good stuff. But Jacob is still promise, right? That he's still striving to become the complete package I think that Joe became. And so for that reason, I think it's very hard. I don't see what the argument would be for Jacob. I think it has to be. It has to be Samoa Joe. There's, Joe's kind of like the complete final form, right? So he has to be. Okay. Samoa Joe advances. Bobby Lashley and Dax Harwood. To me, this is a lot closer than the Kyle Anderson matchup. I mean, obviously, I love Kyle Anderson, but like Dax has, produced at a higher clip as a tag team wrestler, not as a singles. Kyle's single stuff is legit. But Dax has been a much more consistent effort guy, right, than Machine Gun has. So this is harder in that way. And Dax has got kind of a little bit of the Bobby Eaton thing of like, man, he's just a great guy to have on your team. You can put him in. I feel like you can put him, slot him in different directions. And we've only seen him with Cash, but I feel like Dax could be a great tag team wrestler with Bob O'Neill. But man, I mean, you guys can tell because he's about to go over two of my favorite wrestlers ever here. Like, I think Bobby Lashley is underestimated as a top guy, man. I really do. I really do. And it's a star business, you know. Dax's work obviously is far better in terms of how crisp it is, and people. If you watch the way crowds react to Bobby Lashley, that's unique to me. That's special to me. That's the top guy thing, you know. That's the magic right there. And I think from a sort of try to be logical about this and try to put aside how much I personally enjoy watching Dax's, pile driver. Um, and I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley, hesitantly, reluctantly, just because I think there is a raw magic to what the way guys react to that guy is, way fans react to that guy, I should say, is striking. And it's been, I think, very understated in wrestling, I have to say. Very understated. I saw a thing the other day, and I'm sorry to bring discourse, bro. Someone said the other day that Bobby Lashley was never over in the WWE. What the fuck? He was like the most over guy in the promotion from until Cody came in, I feel like. So, I don't know what, like, people to me just don't give him credit in that regard. I'm taking Bobby Lashley, man. I think he's a legit attraction. I think people love watching him. And when he's out there, people react. He could be a little clumsy at times, and you'd never accuse Dax of that, but I'm going to take Bobby. All right, here we go. This is the main event in some ways. This is one of the funniest matchups imaginable. I laughed out loud when the boys said it, and Buster and then the guys immediately attacked it the way I would have attacked it. I was proud of them for that. We have Alexa Bliss and Roderick Strong. And this is where, like, when I was on Fightful back in the day, someone like questioned me, my integrity as a sports, professional wrestling analyst, whatever the fuck it is I am. And they were like, man, like there's no rhyme or reason to the wrestlers you like. And it's always stuck with me, that as a criticism, because I always think, isn't that why like this stuff rules though, It almost feels like these two people are in the same industry. And I think in some ways you could argue they're not really. And I don't say that in like a sort of derogatory way or a sort of dismissive way. In some ways, these two people have done are in different professions. I feel so. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's what wrestling is all about. Um, I think sometimes you need to just like a wrestler and say, "Hell yeah, I like that wrestler." Now, from a GM point of view, I mean, a deeply destructive and troublesome affair. A destructive and troublesome affair. And here is why. If I pick Roderick Strong, here's what I get. I get maybe the most consistent pro grappler, especially underneath pro, because, putting someone like Dragon aside, right? Dragon's fuck. I mean, come on. But, like, guy who's going to just wrestle in the middle of my show, I don't know of anyone I'd like more than Roderick Strong. I mean, engine, effort, so low maintenance. Fuck, it brings it every night. Great tag team wrestler. I can put him in one of those spots. I can have him work as a babyface who fights from underneath and chops uphill. I can have him be a heel who's like a bully in the mid card. I can give him a manager and give him a big shove too and try and get some main event juice at him. I don't know if it'd work, but I could try right with a manager. I mean, an unbelievable pro wrestler. And very few of those things I just said would be as fitting description of Alexa Bliss, right? Alexa Bliss is like a license to print money. And I'm not, let me clear, I'm not going where you think I'm going here. I'm just doing both sides. This is fun. Alexa Bliss is a genuine wrestling star. This has been my sole argument for months now. It was proven completely accurate a few weeks ago, like entirely so. Doesn't get enough credit for how much people like her. Is incredibly charismatic beyond her stature. I mean, crazily so. And if you have her, you have a very popular pro wrestler. And if we're big in Prime version, I think you have like a valuable piece of your TV, So, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. But, I just, just you're getting so many years out of Roddy, you know. You're just getting so. It's just such a. You can put your feet up at night and go, I've got Roderick Strong, bro. And like, yeah, his neck might be fucked, but he's got years to burn. You know, I'm getting him in say like 2015. I'm in 2015. I'm putting my feet up. I'm going. I got Roderick Strong. I'm gonna have 10 years of this guy being fucking awesome. You know. And I don't know if you can have the same. I don't know if you can have the same comfort with the Alexa Bliss acquisition. God, what a ridiculous matchup! I'm going to I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to put through the Messiah of the Backbreaker, Roderick Strong. I have to say, I started with full intention of picking Roddy, and then I started to talk about it and veered slightly. Um, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. This is the fairest thing you could do, right? Let's see how the Alexa comeback run goes. You know, it was circle back to this in a year. It's very difficult right now because like we need to see if Alexa can just like have like matches, you know, on any sort of consistent status. If she can, however, I'm willing to revisit this and reassess it because that would change the sort of long-term investment you're making. But for now, Roderick Strong is the right thing to do. All right. Gotta love this business, folks. You gotta love this business. Andrew said Roddy is a stunt double, Alexa is a leading woman. That's the thing. If Roddy was a smidge, less spectacular, if he was just a good match guy, you could go, you know what, I can find other Roddies. Alexa's a star. But he's not he's not just a good match guy. He's the guy. He's the match guy. I can put him into with anyone. I have to take Roddy. It's actually the old the Arn Anderson Sid thing of Sid will draw your house once, but Arn will keep them coming back because of how good he is. It's kind of that vibe. That's not really fair, but you get what I'm saying. It's not fair to Sid or Alexa, to be honest with you, but you get my point. Right, Roderick Strong advances. He meets the winner of Andrade and Athena. I didn't think this was particularly close, to be honest. I think Andrade's sick, but like from an asset point of view, dude, Athena is your fucking ace in women's division. You know, I love Andrade, but I don't know if he's ever going to connect that way. You know, I feel like I can give Athena the ball and make her the centerpiece of a division. She's going to just kill it. So I'm definitely putting Athena through. Love Andrade, but yeah, I'm taking Athena. Okay. Bret Hart, Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe's the fucking man. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I ain't picking him over Bret Hart. All right, I'm sorry. I don't think he'll be offended. Okay. Up next, Jay Briscoe and Yokozuna. Now, this goes back to the first round, right? And this was something I spoke about there. Yokozuna is obviously a top tier attraction. Jay Briscoe was not. I said when we spoke about Homicide, I said I would take Yoko over Homicide because I don't think the skill gap, I don't think the other areas, there's a wide enough gap to sacrifice that difference, you know? Jay Briscoe, I think, in a strange way, and I say this lovingly, I think Mark's exploits as a singles over the last, 2 years has kind of proven like how great they both were for the whole time. They're two great wrestlers. Like the tag team being their kind of legacy is a beautiful thing, but it isn't a case of that's just who they were always going to. I mean, they could have equally been, a distance apart and had great careers on their own. So this is one where the gap is wider to me because I think Jay has all of Homicide's strengths, but frankly, with respect to Homicide, I think times 20. So that changes the matchup, right? He isn't the attraction Yokozuna is, But if I have Jay Briscoe on my team and I can't get some fucking, make some money with that, I think that's more of a reflection of me. I don't think Jay Briscoe is this sort of wrestler who can't connect, or who's some sort of. I think with the promo and the work, I think it's very obvious he's a player if you know what you're doing, right? You got to trust yourself to do something with Jay Briscoe. I feel like, um, and for me in this case, the gap of ability is wide enough that I would sacrifice the current star power. And I don't mean that as a knock on Yoko. I love Yoko's work, and for his size, he was an amazing, amazing fucking. Honestly, it's very special what he could do physically, and by all accounts, how sort of easy he was to grapple with is wild. Because some of his stuff would look like hell. Granted, some of it was, but you get my point. Jay Briscoe is such a great promo. His work is so good, and I agree with what Andrew just said in our chat. Like in most eras, Jay is a national headliner. I agree with that completely. I think you have to. That's why I did with Dustin earlier. What I was talking about is like, I don't think you can just judge guys on necessarily what they were. If you're picking them at their peak, you're picking them with presumed upside, right, and opportunity to do other things. So, for that reason, I would take Jay Briscoe. And I think this. I think the gap in what they would deliver, I think is wide enough that it's worthwhile. So Jay Briscoe moves on through to the next round. Okay. Tomohiro Ishii and Eddie Kingston. Weird one because like they wrestled like 3 times last year or 2 years ago. Just a weird one to doing something like this. Similar in some ways as kind of these sentimental favorites from war horses, but while Ishii is more reliable and more of a safe bet, Eddie's promo feels like the X factor here. No, that feels like the Eddie's promo is kind of the special ingredient, the secret sauce that I think kind of separates these two for me anyway. Um, both have kind of been slotted as like lovable losers at times. Eddie broke out of that a little bit. Honestly, a lot of it last year before he got hurt. But um, when I'm thinking about them skill wise, I would go with Eddie Kingston because I think his promo opens up a whole other avenue. So give me the Mad King. Even though, I think Ishii's been a much more steady force for the last decade or whatever it's been. Um, I'll take Eddie. Okay. Last one here. This would be a match, wouldn't it? Kurt Hennig and Hiroshi Tanahashi. This is where the Prime thing makes it fun because like Kurt Hennig's Prime is unbelievable. Um, Incredible Prime. But I still just think, I don't know, man. I know Oracle got really upset about this, but I just imagine the comfort of having Hiroshi Tanahashi on your team, dude. Imagine how sweet it would be. I mean, he's the guy, right? He's the guy. I don't think I can put Kurt Hennig past Hiroshi Tanahashi. It feels ridiculous to me. And I love Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig's best stuff is some of my favorite stuff in wrestling history, quite frankly. But Hiroshi Tanahashi's right there with him in that regard, and he has also, what he's been as kind of a man. I don't know. I don't want to just kind of waltz past Hennig because that peak is unbelievable. But I can put my hat on Tanahashi as the ace, and I feel like I can trust him to steer the ship. In turbulent times, I think he can lead us home, and I can't ignore that. I gotta go with Hiroshi Tanahashi. Have to, have to. Okay, Tana, he makes it through. Right, WCW region. The Enforcer, Arn Anderson, and Scott Hall. So here's again, this is where to me, you go match up to match up. What you prioritize. The first round, I said that as much as I love Fit Finley, Scott Hall as a personality and a presence was so strong to me, he outweighed that, and I went with Scott Hall. This is where Arn Anderson being an all-time great promo is like most relevant in this particular game, because that is a string to his bow that Fit you just can't say for Fit, right? And also, I would say, especially like if you're thinking, I'm trying to not just think your stateside promotion because that's not fair. Like Tanahashi would change the way you look at him, but I think Arn was way better at having matches that like worked the audience's, their taste, right? I think now, granted, when neither guy, Arn's work in Japan was insane and like felt sort of like something you shouldn't be watching. The very few occasions he would work there, I haven't seen a lot of Fit's famed Super Juniors like deal that some people have used to kind of pick holes in his work. So I'm going more on what they did in the States here, to be clear and to be fair. But for my money, I think On was better at having the match the people wanted rather than kind of wrestling in a little bit of a bubble, if that makes sense. And we're not. This is not the comparison. I'm just using this to kind of set the stage for what I'm about to do. And all of these things to me make On more valuable than Fit. And combine, that the promo and all the above is enough for me to take him over Scott Hall, who has a higher ceiling. But I think Arn's ceiling and Arn's floor, of that matter, is higher than Fit's, from my view. I mean, just as a promo, again, the promo is so good. Um, Scott is still cooler, but Arn has his own cool factor, which, like, as much as I love Fit, I don't, I think that there's a difference in matchup here, and for that reason, I would go with Arn Anderson. Um, it also has to be said, I mean, Arn is, the amount of roles he can play is very key too, right? So I would go with Arn Anderson, but I do love Scott Hall's work. I just think Arn's output was so much more reliable, and it wasn't that of like a sort of mid card bar believer. So yeah, I go with Arn. Barry Windham and Sting. I think this is like a shootout, to be honest with you. I mean, as like a worker, I think Barry Windham is like, if I'm honest, I think he's considerably better, to be completely real. Um, and it's not like Sting's a better promo, so you kind of find myself in a jam really, because I feel like the audience, you're probably watching this thing and we're like, surely it's Sting, but I'm kind of struggling to figure out why it would be Sting. Um, hmm, hmm. I feel like Barry Windham should go through here, guys. Chat, am I crazy? What's the chat saying? The first thing I saw in the chat was Barry, do it. Maybe it's just Dragon and I think we're picking Prime, which again that's like what happened to Barry Windham in the '90s is not something I have to. I have to think an alternate timeline here. An alternate timeline. I'm getting Barry Windham at his best, and I can do with him whatever. I mean, now I know there are some questions and people have fun with Barry, and like some people question his motor and how much he cared and all that good stuff. Um, but I think it'd be very generous to Sting to pretend that he's like a sort of model citizen in that regard. I mean, Sting was also like deeply inconsistent at times and had ups and downs and sometimes sucked. Oh fuck it, I'm putting Barry Windham through. Hell yeah, I did it. I did it. Fuck the young guns, Barry Windham. You headed on through. Hell yeah. All right. Up next, Big Van Vader and Dustin Rhodes, rematch of one of my favorite Clash of the Champions matches. Fucking loved that match. Go watch that, folks. Late '94. Unbelievable match. This one's pretty easy. I love Dustin. He's the man. But he ain't Big Van Vader. Vader is, again, a special asset. Pretty much one of one. Respect to Bam Bam, but, cartwheels. You got to put Vader through here. And I love Dustin, clearly, but this is Vader. This is Vader. Okay. Vader will meet the winner of Bobby Eaton and Ravishing Rick Rude So this is where I just can't, I can't do it, guys. I'm sorry. Bobby Eaton is definitely a better worker. Like, there's no debate from me. He just is. And again, I've acknowledged that as part of Midnight Express, he's actually like one of the top drawers on this whole thing. But the Rude, you have the gimmick and the shtick, and I just can't. I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't do it. Even though I think there is an element of justice to do it, to putting Bobby through here like the Young Guns did, and they got very excited about it, and they all high fived and such, and Oracle was very proud of them. All of that, and I was happy for Oracle. He had his moment there, but this isn't about him anymore. I got to take a main event heel, singles main event heel. And Rude had his own. I mean, the Fernandez team is sweet. So yeah, I gotta go over Rick Rude. I'm afraid. I love Bobby's work, but I can't look past the gimmick and the shtick when it comes to Rick Rude as kind of an X factor. I just can't. Okay, Rick Rude advances for that elusive Vader match that we went without in '94. SmackDown region. AJ Styles and Jimmy Uso. Obviously, AJ Styles advances. AJ's he's strength of competition is hilarious. The Undertaker and Christian. Now we're fucking talking. All right, here we go. Chat, what we got? Undertaker and Christian. One of these guys is from a star level, star point of view is obviously a lot higher. The other one is a lot more. There's a lot more versatility because, frankly, the gimmick, like you can only do. The Undertaker's challenging to book, right? I think that was proven by some of the years he had. At times, through no fault of his own, even it's just hard. Christian is a lot easier to slot in different roles. Christian's better skill wise. Christian's better, right? I mean, just straight up. Better promo and worker. I'm all for. I'm all for, defending. All for defending the Undertaker's a crazy sense, but in these particular debates, And I did what I did in the first round because Randy Orton was so inconsistent, and his effort was so up and down. But Christian doesn't have those problems, does he? And even though he's a lesser attraction, he's not like a scrub. People do love Christian. He is a guy who's floated around main event scenes. He's been there or thereabouts, even if nowhere near the Undertaker's level. He's not like I'm getting some guy who's going to be in the opening match. He's still Christian Cage, So for that reason, I think I lean, again, I think the skill gap is wide enough that I can, not to dismiss the Undertaker, but again, I just think Christian's better. It's wide enough that I'll sacrifice the star power for what Christian can give me. If I'm getting 2009 Christian, I feel like I've got so much just quality added to the show. So many different roles he can play that I would take Christian in this matchup. I think he's about to be the AEW champion at like 51 years old too, which is hilarious. So, Christian, welcome to the next round. The Big Show and Eddie Guerrero. I love the Big Show. Eddie Guerrero is obviously going through, as is Ray Jr. overcoming Mickey James to set up the Ray and Eddie matchup that the boys had on Friday. Okay, so I don't know how similar we are to what we had on Friday. I have no idea. Athena was out. Bobby was out. Tanahashi was still in barely. Rick Rude was gone. As was Barry Windham. As was SmackDown brackets the same, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So we're not that far off. We're not that far off, folks. To be fair to the Young Guns, we're not that far off. Okay, back to the JHP region. Samoa Joe and Bobby Lashley. All the things I said about Bobby Lashley and the way live crowds react to him, I think is just as applicable to Samoa Joe. But Joe's work is better and promos better. To me, that's easy. And I'm not even trying to be biased with that. I think that's a fair take. I don't know what the argument would be for Lashley in that particular matchup. So, Samoa Joe moves on. Roddy and Athena is a very different Roderick Strong versus women's wrestler than the Roddy Lexi matchup was from the last round. Very, very different. And again, I kind of go back to the Andrade Athena matchup here, to be honest with you. Now, let me be clear. Much as I love Andrade, Roddy is a much more consistent worker than Andrade. But I think Athena's value to a women's division, I think, is really significant, actually. And I think it's almost lost because of, it's been hidden away. But like, I think if she was on, Dynamite or Collision Run, I think the shows would just be like way better for it. I remember that Battle of the Belts match she had last year, Athena, that is, with Red Velvet, and it was a hoot. I mean, it was a tremendous time. Um, what did she wrestle Queen on that? She wrestled Queen on Death for Dishonor. Um, Roddy has, had years and years of quality stuff, so I think it goes without saying I'm not trying to dismiss Roddy. This is my 2 and 3 seed, head to head. It's getting tough at this point. But I think Athena is a more unique piece. And for that reason, I think I'm going to put Athena for her. I think. Yeah. Because she's still giving you great matches, I think I'm doing that. Yeah. Now, I will say, some elements of Athena's shtick in Ring of Honor, I would not be transferring to whatever this imaginary promotion I'm putting together is here. I would have to say. That would not be my game plan. But that's not, I also wouldn't have Roddy yelling at him. So, fuck, what do I know? Okay, up next, Bret Hart and Jay Briscoe. Jay Briscoe is an all-timer. I believe that. But again, and I've been quick on all of these for a reason, man, if Bret Hart's my top guy and my number one babyface, I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that. I've got to take Bret Hart. I'm afraid. Right, this next one, I'm sorry, guys. I mean this with all respect to the man. I love Eddie Kingston. The lads got to this matchup on Friday, and I thought they did something truly fucking heinous. Truly heinous. I thought it was aggressive. I was spiteful. I did not agree with it whatsoever. Eddie Kingston was sent through in a matchup with Hiroshi Tanahashi. Man, I don't know, guys. I struggle. I struggle with that one. I think the lads lost the plot on this round. They also did the Brett J matchup. They reversed. And I think what really happened, I'm going to give the Young Guns an out here. I think the Oracle of Wrestling got to them. I think the Oracle of Wrestling convinced them. He swayed them. I love Eddie Kingston. But Hiroshi Tanahashi, man, like, oh my god, I just can't see it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I cannot do it. Because all of the things that you could, like, to me, all the great things about Eddie and the way he makes people feel and the romantic element to his matches, I think they're all there for Tanahashi. It's easy for me. And I mean, look, I love King, but it's easy for me. I got Hiroshi Tanahashi every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Shout out to the Mad King. I don't think he'd be offended. But I got Big Bash Tanner for sure. No, I just have to. Okay, that sets up some crazy matchups, right? Arn Anderson and Barry Windham. Whew. Damn. Now this is some serious fucking ceiling, versus floor shit, I think. Or consistency versus peak, maybe will be better. This is a sweet matchup. And these two had, obviously, were together, were opposite each other. Very familiar foes, no doubt. Arn Anderson's effort, consistency are very, very valuable here to me because one of the reasons I put Barry through over Sting is I think Sting had similar highs and lows, but without peaking nearly as high, to be honest with you. So that was it. The more I thought about the Barry Windham thing, the more comfortable I was doing it. I'm less comfortable here because I think Arn is so reliable in ways that I don't know if Bazza necessarily could claim to be. Arn's also a better promo, which I don't. Again, I wasn't comfortable with saying Sting was at all. But but Barry Windham he can have the top match of have the biggest match of the year for me as a singles wrestler. He can go through the years as a singles wrestler. I love Arn Is that something he can do? It's getting tough, folks. It's getting very, very tough. Oh shit! This is the first one that's truly I do feel I feel pain. I feel pain right now. I can't lie. Here's the deciding factor for me. For all of his consistency and his reliability, and those are very real things. I think Barry Windham can be a great tag team wrestler. I think he proved that. I don't know if Arn Anderson can be as valuable to me as a top singles guy. So for that reason, Barry Windham is continuing his incredible run here in the Bert Bracket. Barry Windham, welcome to the team. Big Van Vader and Ravishing Rick Rude. This was supposed to be a match in 1994. Rude was going to turn babyface and work with Vader, or at least be like a tweener. I don't really buy the tweener thing though. I think he was just going to be a babyface. I don't know how that would have worked, but that was, I think, the plan. Seemed like it. Before the back injury, would have been really interesting to see how that looked. I don't know. In this particular game, I don't think this is that close. Rick Rude is awesome, and his peak is formidable. Um, I just Vader is a special, special fucking asset, dude. I mean, you can build your whole main event scene around him as a monster, right? And like, as much as I love Rick Rude, with how quickly he burned out at that level, that particular level, I would struggle. And with Vader, I mean, he has some lows in his career for obvious reasons, but the way that he comes back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, whatever, I think makes him kind of undeniable in this matchup. So that reason I would take Big Van Vader here to advance the final two in my WCW region. Okay. Over on SmackDown. Uncle Allen, Christian Cage. The boys reached a pretty similar conclusion to me on this, which is like, there are some things I think Christian is better at than AJ, but I just feel like AJ has that extra gear, that extra level, and that isn't a knock on Chris. I think he has a level that only certain guys I would feel comfortable matching him with. I don't think Christian is one of those guys, and I love Christian, but to me AJ's able to explode into something that's truly spectacular. And I don't know if Christian could do it with the same consistency, if I'm honest. And then again, that's more of a credit to AJ than a slight to him. I think it's AJ. Again, that doesn't mean Christian doesn't have certain things you would maybe lean his way, but overall, it's AJ Styles, man. I think it's got to be. I got AJ. Right, here's the next one. This was very controversial, very exciting, very, very explosive on an old show. Less so on Friday. Eddie and Ray was very quickly handled on Friday, and Manny the Hooper was quite upset about it. So we have to remember we're not just doing body of work here, right? So because this is like we're picking them in their peak. Now, whatever that peak is, and obviously there's X factors that come with that, because if you think Eddie's best work is like 2004, then obviously, unfortunately there wasn't much ahead of Eddie's. That's difficult. I don't think we should really keep that in check for this particular game. It feels kind of like a morbid way of approaching fantasy wrestling conversation. I think this is really interesting. So Ray is definitely more consistent. I think people, and I'm about to put Eddie over Hughes, so bear with me. I think people do sort of forget that Eddie could be somewhat mercurial at times, and particularly obviously as he got older and for understandable reasons. But I do think he could be. But man, Eddie's has two differing peaks that are two of the best wrestlers I've ever seen, and I think we have to be real about this. I think there's parts to Eddie's game that I don't think Ray possesses. I have to be real. I mean, what Eddie became as a promo and personality, like that's not that just is like Raisin. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have those part that they're not part of his game, and that's not. I mean, very few guys had the sort of the charm that Eddie had in the second half of his career in particular. So I think that is very very key here when you're thinking about them as assets because there's things you can do with Eddie on TV that I don't know if you can necessarily do with Ray. However, oh shit, man, this is a horrible one for me. I don't. I'm not thrilled with this one. This is another one. This is like that Wyndham and Arn one that I was struggling with a minute ago. And also, Eddie can be a fucking unbelievable heel too. That's the other thing, man. Eddie can be an absolute just an animal as a heel. A lot of different kind of looks you can have there. But Ray is very, very consistent. Very, very consistent. Very reliable. And I think I'm going to lean on that reliability because it's so close elsewhere. And even though it's not saying you want to factor in a ton because like it's a guy dying, I do think you kind of have to like, you know, what Ray has been able to, the extensive greatness of Rey Mysterio, I think is hard to ignore. So I will take Rey Mysterio here with some hesitance. Brainbuster is here. Hello, Brainbuster. Rey Mysterio. My favourites here, guys. Brainbuster's here. All right. Ray Jr. heads through. So I think we got some differences, right? So Athena made the final four for me. Or sorry, the final eight for me, or the elite eight, I think you guys call it. Um, Athena made it. Tanahashi made it for me. Bret Hart made it. Okay, it's quite different actually. Barry Windham made it. Okay. JHP tier. Again, not even trying to do the bias here. You'll see that soon. Samoa Joe's going through over Athena, right? I mean, Athena's so far has had Doc Gallows, Andrade, and Roddy. Those are all, at different levels, have their value, but Samoa Joe's a top guy for you. Um, and I think has proven his act can translate a level that Athena has yet to have the chance to prove, unfortunately. So Samoa Joe all day, every day. He is winning the JHP bracket. I think that's clear. This next one, oh baby. Bret the Hitman Hart, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Two of the all-time great, for me anyway, two of the all-time great top baby faces. Two guys that I sincerely want to root for, and I'm a fan that does not generally find myself attached to top baby faces. I have to be honest, they're generally not my archetype of wrestler, but I just think these two fellas are just unbelievably charming as pro wrestlers. I love them both. Now we have to be clear in terms of track record, in terms of what they produced as top guys. This is not close. Now I think there are some extra elements at play there. Brett, I think they were constantly trying to find someone else to play that role. But let's be honest, Tanahashi didn't exactly have perfect circumstances, right? He didn't exactly, walk into a perfect situation. It was quite the opposite. He had to kind of lead the charge in a rebuild. I don't think you can ignore that, even if we're not going full gate receipts. I think you have to consider it, right? If you pick one of these guys to be your top babyface, are you going to be a year into the Bret Hart regime going, well, fuck, maybe I need a new guy? Is Bret the guy that works with a guy? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. I don't know if you're going to be asking those questions about Tanner. I don't know if you are. I think two of my all-time favorites to watch. Probably slightly more of a Bret fan. But If I picked Hiroshi Tanahashi, I would have full confidence and full belief that he was the guy for me. With Brett, I would be picking him in hope that he could be the guy, but more confident he was going to be one of the top guys. One of. And so for that reason, I'm going to take Hiroshi Tanahashi here in the JHP. Sorry, in the promotional partners tier. My apologies. Hiroshi Tanahashi is on his way to the final four. Barry Windham. Big Van Vader. I think it ends here for old Bazza. He's had a hell of a fucking run. Beat Sting. Beat Arn Anderson. He's been killing it. And I still do love that peak I've been talking about for an hour and a half now. I love me some Barry Windham, clearly. But Vader, as I've said all night, unique force of nature. Genuine attraction. One of one big man. I can't go any further with Barry, unfortunately. Vader is on his way through to the dance. Up next, a 2019 Raw rematch here. We have AJ Styles, the Phenomenal, opposite Rey Mysterio. And this is it's a shame that these two didn't have, it's really a shame in a lot of ways that these two didn't meet at different times, Because the stuff they did was actually quite good, but it wasn't what you imagine it, what it could have been. Just to answer this here, because Brainbuster's, he's a kid. Sting actually wasn't like a draw at all. It was famously so. They wrote, observers about it and stuff for years. But, I get you're young, Brainbuster, so I'm not going to hold that against you. But he actually wasn't a big draw, guys. He was a big draw in 2024, which we appreciate and respect. Don't we use bubbles, by the way? What the fuck's this block thing? What is this? We do this one, don't we? This is our one. What are these kids doing around here? Infiltrating the damn StreamYard. Sting wasn't a big draw, man. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, alright, as I was saying, I think this is right. This is right? So anyway, as I was saying, the Big Van Vader, good wrestler, AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio. Yeah. StreamYard sucks, dude. AJ Styles, I think, is a guy who can actually one of the few guys in history that can actually kind of hang in there, I think, in terms of consistency. I don't think he's more consistent, but I think he can he can enter the conversation without being embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? I think he can do that. And I think you could argue he peaks higher. What I don't think you could argue, however, I don't think you could argue he connects to the same degree. And that, I think, is the X factor here. Two of the all-time greats, definitely. I think Ray, as an attraction, I think there's just more meat on the bone there. I think Rey Mysterio connects with fans to a level that, as much as wrestling fans love AJ Styles, I don't quite know if it's to that degree. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But yeah, I think I'm going with Ray here. I think I've got Ray. I've got Ray Jr. I've got Ray. I don't know. I actually think he was, to be fair. I could be wrong on this, but I feel like Barry Windham was like a legitimate draw in the mid-80s. Am I wrong on this, or am I imagining it? Does anyone in the chat have gate receipts? Does anyone got any observers handy? Give me 1 second here. Yeah. I feel like Barry Windham was a bigger draw. This is true. We wouldn't be picking 97 Sting, though. Well, I wouldn't be anyway. I wouldn't be picking 97. We're going peak for peak, right? To me, peak Sting wouldn't necessarily be his biggest draw. Which is where it gets complicated. It's like if you were picking some wrestlers, they won't align necessarily. I don't know. This guy, I think he's close, to be fair. If I would pick, if I was picking Sting, I would pick like 1992 Sting, 91, 93, around there. I don't know. I like Sting, he's on the bracket. Okay, where are we at? Ray Jr. went through. He's wrestling Vader. Oh, fuck. Okay, so we have Samoa Joe and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and we have Ray Jr. and Vader. All right. This, what an incredible couple match. Ray Jr. and Vader would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay. Guys, can we please stop the extensive Sting debate now? I'm trying. It's just, this is not really that serious. Brainbuster, why do you have to, even when he's not on the show, suddenly this feels like a shootout in the chat. I mean, guys, it's a bracket. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just doing this as a bit to ease myself back into the shows, guys, please. Okay, semi-finals here. Fucking Buster, the energy, bro. Even when he's not on the show, there's such an aggression to him. He's got Ben fired up here, defending Sting's honor. I mean, it's okay. I like Barry Windham. It's okay. Samoa Joe and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I actually think, believe it or not, I actually don't think this is close. I don't. I don't think it's close. And the reason I don't think it's close is for as talented as Samoa Joe has been for 25 years now. I think there are too many stretches where Joe allowed himself to be dragged down, where he allowed himself to be damaged by the pen of Vince Russo. And I don't think he fought that the way that AJ Styles fought it. I don't think AJ Styles had great matches in spite of it. So if I'm picking them and they're going to be a part of my roster for 10, 15 years, they're a long-term piece. Hiroshi Tanahashi is my ace. I have no doubts about. He's not going to go off the boil. Can I have the same confidence in Samoa Joe? I don't know. I think he's proven there's a lot of room to have confidence, but I don't think I can. Hiroshi Tanahashi is my centerpiece. Is Samoa Joe going to be that? I don't know. I don't think he is. And so for that reason, the big man is gone. Samoa Joe is headed home from the Bert Bracket. Sad moment here in the program. Okay. Sam Joe, we love you. We wish you the best. Still won the JHP region, right? Which is the most important thing. That's really the true honour. All right. Goodbye to Samoa Joe. Rey Mysterio and Vader. Fuck. What a great match that would be. I mean, I don't know. Actually, so the thing with that is if you could convince Vader to play ball with it would be unbelievable. I don't know if he would. I honestly feel pretty bullish about this one. The semi-finals, I don't feel as torn on, ironically, as some of the quarterfinals. Vader's great, but I don't think I'm picking him over Ray, man. I don't think I am. I mean, I guess if you're thinking, main event, but again, main event, you know, Ray's an attraction in his own right, and a lot of the time he was fucking being actively undercut in that regard. Chat's very torn. A lot of emotion in our chat. A lot of emotion, a lot of fear, a lot of agony. I think Rey Mysterio's going to the final, guys. I'm going with Rey Mysterio. I'm going with Rey Mysterio. I may leave this with more heat than the Young Guns did, ironically, which is very impressive. Very impressive. Ray would have got there, yeah, like 6 months later. Yeah, then after Vader left. Yeah, I'm doing it. Ray Jr., welcome to the final. Okay. We're doing it, we're pulling the trigger. It's a total 180 on the Oracle of Wrestling, and he's fucking chicanery. He's absolute filth on Friday night. I'm just completely reversing it. I'm turning it around, and I'm righting wrongs here tonight. All of the things that I love about Rey Mysterio Jr., all of the magic to watching him fight from underneath and sell and be a hero and connect with the people. I love all of those things. But I think Hiroshi Tanahashi does all those things. And I think he pairs it with a track record as the guy. Hiroshi Tanahashi was so great that when I was a young man, I bought a Kazuchika Okada poster. It's still in my fucking room. It's still there. I don't even like the guy. He convinced me I liked him. He convinced me. And then when I was an older fellow, and I realised I didn't like him at all. I just liked Hiroshi Tanahashi. I liked him so much, in fact, he'd convinced me I liked his opponent. Hiroshi Tanahashi is winning my personal Bert Bracket. I'm confident in it. I think it's the right thing to do. It feels like justice. Hiroshi Tanahashi. That's my pick. That's where I'm going, folks. Chat's very torn. Very, very torn. Bomb said that reason convinced me. It's true. I look at that fucking poster every day. It's a beautiful art piece. I don't know who did it. It's a wonderful art piece. It's like it's Okada and all the money's going past him. It's beautiful, you know, but I don't really like watching him wrestle. And I really thought I did for a long time now, but I don't really. I mean, he's very good, but I don't actually care to watch him. I used to sit there and watch those matches front to back over and over again. Beautiful. Hiroshi Tanahashi, what a fucking legend. Oracle, you may have been able to bully the young guns, but I did this show here tonight with full intention of righting those wrongs. I feel like I did that. Some of you may disagree. That's the beauty of it. I want to apologise to any Sting fans. I'm sorry. I just like Barry Windham a lot. I want to apologise to Brainbuster. He seemed very upset at some point. I want to apologise to Novi and Caden. Look, we try our best around here. This may have gone worse than last night's show, but at the end of the day, I put my head on the pillow and I can know that all of the evil that Oracle brought to these airwaves on Friday, I feel I've erased on some level. I'm proud of that. I can live with that. All right, in all seriousness, bits aside, these bracket shows are really fucking fun. I don't think we're going to do one for a bit just because we've done a lot of them. And there's supposed to be a bigger gap from the last one to this one, but I was off, so it made sense. They're really fun. If you didn't see Friday's show, watch it because the results are not the actual game. The game is the conversation. It's a hoot. They're a kind of cool thing we've staggered our way into. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not going anywhere. If you have questions, get fire away because I know it's been almost 2 hours, but I'm having fun, so fuck it. And while you do that, I am going to briefly talk about some Grin stuff, some Grin business. Let me start this and I'll write them down. Thank you, brother. Okay. So, on my week off, I was really trying to think about just kind of some stuff for Friday's show. So, you guys would have seen this. A lot of you, members, you would have seen the show I did on the day of the Rumble. We're in a weird place right now with kind of what we do. Oh fuck, I just said that phrase. Oh Jesus. With what we do, quote unquote, not in that way. We're very much going more in a direction of kind of doing our own thing in the sense that I don't want us to be attached to. I never ever want this platform to be a we cover, what's happening on the Rumble, we cover that. What happened on Raw, we cover that. And we've avoided that a lot since we came back. And it's been almost a year since we came back, which is wild to me. But it also makes sense when I think about all that's happened since then. And I want us to kind of be protected from the ebbs and flows of the weekly, like, it's so over, we're back shit that's kind of swept up the game. There's a place for that, and that stuff can be fun, and you can have those conversations. But like, I'll be honest, the worst thing that I like, my worst case scenario for doing this stuff is becoming one of those guys who just whines all the time. I have no interest in doing it, and that doesn't mean I want to be like a WrestleJoy positivity pervert, because I don't. I want to be honest about my opinion, but I just do not at all want to be like on here every day yelling about, and then this went wrong and I'm mad about this. Like, dude, there's just too much stuff to worry about. It's just, and that's not me doing like this only wrestling, bro, don't criticize it. That's not what I'm doing. I think people should dissect and analyze wrestling however they want. I'm for that. But I just don't have the energy to be like mad about what was left off Raw. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't. I just can't do it. And so I took myself off the AEW previews for that reason. I fucking hate and resent the growing trend of people making careers off like burying that promotion. I think it's fucking pathetic. And I think people will regret it one day, but I digress. I have no interest in being one of those people. So I took myself off those shows. The vibe I got from the boys doing those shows, but they wasn't exactly having a blast. Not because they didn't want to talk about it, because it's just not that fun. It's kind of boring after a while. You're saying the same thing over and over again. The WWE previews I actually think have gone along nicely, and I want to shout out Chris Bordine for being awesome on those shows, and he'll be around regardless of those shows. He's the man. But I didn't want us to get to a point where the AEW show gets slashed and then we have WWE pay-per-view previews and nothing else. So here's what we're going to do. Moving forward, the pay-per-view previews are going to be exclusively like case by case is what I mean to say. They're going to be, if we want to do it, we do it. If we're excited about something, we will, put together a preview show that'll be separate from the Friday show. It'll be like a Wednesday stream, Tuesday, whatever works for the boys. And we'll do that. So, something like Elimination Chamber, I don't think that needs a full preview show. And I think all we will be doing is stretching it to make it 2 hours. And we've often said a lot of the stuff we feel about these wrestlers anyway. So, I just think it's kind of redundant. And if the boys don't want to do the AEW shows, I don't want them to be doing it for the sake of balance. It just seems silly. And I also hate, while we're on the subject, I don't like the fact that those shows don't really have any like playability because they're just burned in a day, So, they're no longer going to be on Fridays. Now, what this means is there's room to do more wacky stuff on Fridays. There's room to play around and tinker with a Friday show. It can be challenging at times, but I think it will be a positive thing in the long run. So, my point is, this is what's coming up. So, this Friday, we have a really, really cool one coming up. And I think this is going to be fun. And even if you're not a big Ring of Honor fan, I think you're going to like this. An all-time Ring of Honor draft. If they wrestled one match in Ring of Honor, they're on the board. Granted, you're picking that version of them. So if they wrestled at Ring of Honor when they were quite old, you're getting that version of them. But all-time Ring of Honor draft, Buster, Khalid, myself, Manny the Hooper, and Contrarian Alex is the lineup for that show. So, I mean, I think we're trying our best there. We're coming out swinging. If this is the new start or whatever the fuck, I think we're coming out swinging in that regard. And it isn't a new start anyway. It's just we're doing more of the stuff that I feel like is where we need to be at this point. So that's going to be Friday. Next Friday, the 28th, right? 28th? Yeah, 28th. Friday the 28th is going to be the Chamber Carousel, which is, someone said it in the chat literally a second ago, is genuinely just the Rumble Tumbler, but with Elimination Chamber matches. So that'll be like our Chamber coverage. We'll do a Chamber show because it's Chamber weekend, and I think that's a lot more fun and light, and it's something someone can go back to and watch in 2 months that isn't going to be completely fucking irrelevant. Chamber Carousel on the last day of Feb. Then in March we're going to have something really wacky, and really ridiculous and really self-serving, because in March we are going to do for the very first time the Late Night Grin Hall of Fame. Now I know what you're thinking. What the fuck is the Late Night Grin Hall of Fame? What could it possibly be, and what could it possibly achieve? Well, we have now been doing this for, this is our 5th year of the Late Night Grin, and wrestlers have become part of Late Night Grin kind of stature and lore and such. And so we are going to be putting together an annual Hall of Fame. The class will include, currently, this could change, currently it's penciled in to include 2 modern grapplers. Modern being wrestlers that have wrestled in like 3 of the 5 years of the Late Night Grin's existence. And a grappler that doesn't fit that, which will be deemed like, the retro or the old school, whatever the fuck we're going to call it, will be in there. There will be a tag team, and there will be a grinner. And the grinner will be someone who appears on the shows, and we've already got a plan for that, and we'll leave that there. We're not going to spoil it any further. The way this is going to work is you're not voting for, this is not like, let me think of someone who would be this is not like just Bryan Danielson. This is not like that. This is specifically Hall of Famers in this particular world of Late Night Grin. So I say that to say, in this world, Solo Sikoa would have a higher Hall of Fame candidacy than Arthur and Seeker. You get what I'm saying? You get where I'm at here? It isn't actually about being a Hall of Fame wrestler. It's about your standing within this bizarre world we have built over the last 4.5 years, which is 3.5 years, right? Yeah, 3.5 years. 2022. Yeah, 3.5 years, but it's the 5th year of, yeah. So, I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do with that is, on the first show of March, we're going to do a show that's going to be very loose, and we're going to talk all sorts of stuff, and we're going to get a fun lineup on there. And we're, throughout the show, going to casually put together some candidates. And then we're going to let the gold members vote on those, which I think will be really fun. And I've got, Rice Man and Tope, I've already clued them in on this. We want that show, the eventual Hall of Fame show, to be every bit as ridiculous as the Grinnies were. That's the plan. So that's what's coming up. So the March 4th, I believe it is. No, it can't be 4th. That's ridiculous. 7th. The March 7th show will be the nominees show. And the 21st will be the Hall of Fame ceremony. March 14th will be a grin along of some ilk. It may be a TNA grin along. It may be a Maple Leaf Pro grin along. We have to attach ourselves to Maple Leaf Pro, of course, because, some good brothers may need us there soon. That'll be the 14th. Let me see if there's anything else I want to just kind of get out there and locked in. I believe this is penciled in, but I'm giving you guys this because we're just hanging out here. March 28th, I believe we're going to do WrestleMania 15 because that's an anniversary. April 11th will be Windy City Riot. And April 25th, if all things work out, will be the all-time LNG draft, running it back from last year. Adding the Young Guns, I'm sure. Last year that show was so much fun. It's one of our most viewed shows ever. It was fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. WrestleMania 15 is not good, but I just think it's one of those shows where not everyone knows it off the top of their head, and it kind of sucks. I think it'd be fun from a grin along point of view with Manny the Hooper, But I could be wrong. Okay. So that's what's coming up, folks. That's what's ahead of us. Big business. I'm quite excited about it. The gold schedule won't be affected at all. It'll be exactly the same for those of you that are members. How many rounds the RH draft? We're gonna have 5, so 20 maybe. Maybe 100 wrestlers. That seemed like a lot or too few. Chat, what do you think? I think 20. Tag teams are going to be separate picks as well. You can't put them together because I think then it opens up a whole can of worms. For Ring of Honor specifically, you pick individuals. I think 20 is my gut feeling. And then if we're early in the show, then I think we can always do extra ones. We'll say 20. So yeah. All right. Any questions? Now is the time. Someone asked me something earlier. First, let me get Ben's super chat. Chad's Ben. He said, good. Yeah, they got a good shot. I think like the question would be, do they get nominated as a tag team or does Cole get nominated individually? Because Gallows is not like a huge part of Grin lore, right? So these are things you have to ponder. There's only one slot for a tag team, so like there's some pretty heavy hitters there. In terms of the legends, it goes without saying that Matt has got some names he's going to be desperate to see go in there. So it's going to be tough, man. I mean, it's going to be, making this an annual thing. So yeah, it's not everyone's going to get in the first year. But I think Machine Gun's got a good chance. We'll see how it goes. Um, Jackie Crosby, I'll try and give a vote, yes. All right. Let me circle back. So this was a question from like 2 hours ago, literally. Colt said, "Do you regret bringing in the new batch of young guns?" My answer was yes when I started this, but actually no. No, in all seriousness, how fucking awesome are those guys, huh? The amount of shows they've done and like how well they've fit in while still adding their own flavor to the shows. I'm blown away by it, dude. Seriously, I mean, I know you're just fucking around here, but it actually is incredible, legitimately. The fact they haven't completely killed the vibes is really impressive. I mean, they may have for some of you, I don't know, but I like them, so I think they've done a great job. I'm very proud of them. Very proud of the kids. What's your excitement level for Mania? It's not very high, to be honest with you. But I'm just at a different place with the whole thing, to be honest with you. Um, Update here. We have a interesting tweet that I'm gonna circle back to. Um, one moment on that, but yeah, I think the card looks pretty uninspiring, to be honest with you. I genuinely, sincerely want to see um, the Jey Uso thing. I think that'd actually be a great spectacle live. And like you guys think that's lame or dumb, I don't give a fuck. I think it's gonna be really cool. It's the main thing I'm going for now at this point because I look at the rest of the card and I'm like, I don't really care. Um, so yeah, I want to see that. I mainly am now going for like hanging out with Alex. It's gonna be really cool. We're gonna see the NXT show together. Um, I think I'm gonna go to TNA on Thursday, hilariously, and I think I'm gonna do like maybe the Hitchcock show, maybe. But I'm gonna just try and have fun, and like I just can't be living and dying with the fucking. I can't be living and dying with the card changes and stuff. I've just accepted and let it go now. People message me like, "What do you think's gonna happen with this?" I'm like, I don't know, man. And honestly, I don't think they know. So I also think it's like pointless sweating about it. You just kind of got to let it play out hilariously. What an incredible turn of events that I'm the one saying that, but it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I don't think it looks particularly appealing, but I think I'll have fun. And at the end of the day, like it's something that I think even if the show fucking sucks, I'm going to Vegas with my brother to watch some wrestling. Like I, can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't really moan or complain about that. Like the fact that I can do that and it's not going to bankrupt me, I'm very very lucky, and I'm not going to complain based on the fact there's too many triple threats. It's just it is what it is. Um, okay, what was the other one I was going to circle here? I am going to both nights, Elliot. Yes. Um, okay. Let me go back up here. Um, I've got a bunch of starred comments, so I'm going to try and get to them. Will there be any Vegas content we still got? I may try and record like a Mania review with Alex, like on my phone maybe, but I'm not taking any shit because I don't really want to. Not because I mean, I'm always happy to like make stuff and create stuff for you guys. I'm always happy to do that, but I don't want it to be like what I'm thinking about when I don't want to be watching Mania going, oh shit, this has got vlog potential. You know what I'm saying? So it probably won't be a lot. I think most likely is that I'll just get home and do a show of Alex where we talk about the whole thing. Um, but maybe something like that. I mean, there'll be obviously the boys will do a schedule without me, but I don't think there'll be a ton. Um, any progress on the LNG GM mode? I think yeah, it's not really my thing. But I think they're going to start when the 2K25 game comes out. I think so. They're doing it. I just don't know a lot about what the process is. I did not watch Grand Slam. I intend to, but yeah, I have not seen it yet. Probably tomorrow, hopefully. Um, Boring question. What is the solution for cutting off all these multi-man matches for big shows? Feels like a problem. I think the key is that you. All right, so here's the thing. I'm kind of on my own on this because as someone that flies as far as I'm flying for these shows, I actually do. I do believe in trying to get as many people on the show as possible. I do. I always have. I've been consistent on this. I'm very much an island with it. I know people hate that mentality. I do believe. So again, as someone who's flying that far, I think it's a cute thing to try and feature people on the show. Now, here's the thing. I do not believe in it in your top matches. So I think the solution is you have to prioritize your attractions first. And then if you get, fucking your main stuff in place, I think you can then do your 10-man tag on the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Or your fatal four-way tag or your fucking whatever it is. If that's the undercard, I never have an issue with it. I have no complaint. I want the person who's flown from, South Africa or whatever, or fucking wherever it may be, from Australia. I want them to see their fave. I think that's a cute thing. I don't have any problem with that. I just don't like when it impacts the main matches. I think the main matches should generally be one-on-one matches, unless there is a story that calls for it. Um, so yeah, I think right now they're clearly trying to kind of tackle and deal with a lot of egos. That's the way it seems to me. Um, I'll be real. I think the card is still completely up in the air. I don't know that. I'm not a scoopster. I don't care to be one. My gut feeling is that they're still temperature checking stuff. And they're still seeing what people feel about stuff and seeing what people think about. And they're putting out stories of this match is being talked about, and they get an idea of what people think about that. That's my genuine feeling. We'll see where it lands on. I think there's a lot of compromise to the vibe right now, but you know, we shall see. But my main thing for this question would be prioritize the money matches and then get your guys in on the undercard. Would be my suggestion. You could pick your dream stand and deliver card. I think so. It needs Ricky in a big match because um, Alex and I were next to each other for the Dragon match, and it's not my business, but that is a big deal for Alex, and I would love to see Ricky in a big match again while sitting next to him. That'd be really cool. So that Fallon and JC, if they're going to split, they got to do the match for me in Vegas. They have to. They're not going to, but they have to. Um, Honestly, dude, I'm not. I just said what I said about multi, but if you're going to do a fucking multi-person match, Jordan, Julia, and Steph would be crazy, right? I mean, if you're going to do one, I mean, that would be pretty wild, wouldn't it? That'd be a pretty wild flex. Something with that group of talent. I don't know what the singles match in this area. I don't watch the TV, so I don't know what they're going to. But something of that group of talent would be sick. Other than that, the Hardys and Fraxium would be just like a novelty thing. I don't really care to watch it, but I mean, there's not any other alternative that I'm desperate to see. So give me the Hardys. And who could the men? I mean, Trick and Oba, as a fan, I would be intrigued as to how it looks. I didn't see their last match, so probably that. I don't really see a lot of the dudes. There's not really a lot of guys in the show that I'm into, so probably something like that. Ricky, I guess, could feasibly work with either of those guys too, so we shall see. But something like that. There's a few matches for you. Okay. Hey Joe, as someone who stopped watching wrestling about 6 months ago due to quite a few frustrations, sorry. Would you say now is a good time to jump back in, or are there still too many frustrations? Thanks. I think it depends on what your frustrations. I mean, I've seen people be more upset about wrestling in the last month than maybe ever before. So I guess my answer is no. But it depends what your attachment is. If you're more of an AEW fan, I actually think it probably is a good time to jump back in. No, I'm saying that based on vibe. I haven't watched it closely, but I think the vibe is very positive with AEW right now. if you're more of a WWE fan, it seems like people are more upset with WWE's creative now than they've been in a long time. Again, that seems like is important because it's not like necessarily an indication of everyone. So I guess it depends on where your taste is at, brother. But my main thing would be like just I think it's you'll know when it's time to start watching it because you'll miss it. That's more the way I always feel about it. Like deep down, we all know what we do and don't want to watch in anything, right? You know, deep down, there's some stuff we watch out of habit, but you know, sometimes you think I want to watch that. Actually, I want to see what that looks like. So, I think follow your gut in that regard, but I think mainly it depends on like you know, mainly it depends on what your preference is. I would say. Um, okay, thank you, Will. Andrew said, "Final Vegas question: will you bring an 8x10 Smith?" No, but it would be a good bit. Too expensive. I had to buy a new phone today. I'm real fucking mad about it. MA says, Hulbert fam, wrestling law. Did your dad get you into it? Was your grandpa watching Rollable Rock event today? No and no. My dad had no interest in wrestling at all until he was like 60. Hilariously, he obviously was aware of it because my older brothers love wrestling. They like Rock and Austin and all that stuff. I have a for my brother, I got him the Rock and Austin WrestleMania poster here, which is pretty cool. I'm looking at it now. It's next to the FTR Bullet Club Gold thing, which is funny. And so like he's awareness of wrestling, but he didn't really get it. And then in 2021, when AEW was really getting hot, like he kind of watched some of that stuff with my brother and I, and got into it and kind of began to understand it slightly. And it's a very hard thing to understand at that age, but like he definitely has now got to the point where he's like he watches stuff about wrestling, which is always, I mean, it kind of ruins it in some ways, but I mean, he seems to enjoy it. Like he'll watch like a Bret Hart interview now, you know. And the next time I speak to him, he's talking about selling and stuff. It's kind of it's very challenging thing to navigate, and it's also hard from my perspective. I don't want to like ruin stuff for him. So like, there's some stuff I don't give a fuck about, or like, I know is gonna suck, and I just have to leave him. I just have to leave him to it, really, you know. Um, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, he doesn't watch as much right now because he kind of fell out of AEW and he really struggles with the WWE stuff. He likes some of it. He loves CM Punk. It's like one of his favorite wrestlers. But he's more of an AEW fan. And he didn't really like a lot of the AEW stuff before he stopped watching. I think he stopped watching around 2 months ago. So yeah, that's where he's at. We watched Canadian Stampede tonight though, all of us, which was hilarious. All right, thank you, MA. Riley says, "You think Tony has increased her stock in an all-time campaign case by taking the gambling gun with the timeless gimmick? Where do you now think she'll end up with the modern woman grapplers all-time?" I think she definitely has increased her stock. The timeless thing will be remembered for a long time, dude. Like, doesn't mean you have to like it, but it will absolutely be something people remember. It's one of their most popular gimmicks ever. Where do you think she'll end up with the modern woman grapplers? So, this is not really fair, but I think it's the truth. I think a lot of that depends on what AEW becomes and evolves into, to be real. And I'm not saying that in a way of like AEW could die, bro. What I mean by that is there's still different versions of the AEW story. And I think which of those versions occurs will decide how Tony's remembered in a lot of ways. Timeless Tony. And that's not fair. I just think it's the reality of how these things work. If AEW has a great 2025 and flourishes and somewhat turns the tide in public perception, I think Tony Storm will be looked at as one of the centerpieces of that. Alternatively, if the gap widens and they struggle to make ground up, I think there's a chance Tony Storm is looked at as like a bright spot in, you know, because these things are done in very broad strokes. And it's not necessarily a good indication of what was actually happening. It's just the way people do things. So, yeah, I think it really depends on those surrounding factors. I think she's been incredibly impressive because I think this gimmick is entirely at odds with her scouting report coming in. I didn't think she had a great deal of personality, to be honest, as a wrestler. I mean, obviously, like, stunning and has certainly charisma, But I always thought she came off kind of flat as a personality before AEW. So her being this character is like fucking insane, dude. I mean, it's just mind blowing to me. So yeah, I think it depends on the surrounding pieces, but she's very, very impressive, and she's one of their lead attractions, I think, legitimately. Very, very cool. Okay. Thank you, Riley. Don't Have an Ad says, when Jules Hart won the TBS title, you said you were a fan of companies rewarding talent for improving, getting over. So I'm curious where you stand on this belief that Harley should have won last night. Yeah, I don't think Harley should have won last night. I do believe in that, but I do think it depends on like where the, you know, it depends on the circumstance of who the champion is and such. I just don't think that's where you have Mercedes lose her first match. Um, I also think, Julia Hart, in terms of skill, has a very, very long way to go, if we're being real. I don't think any of us that was ever lost to any of us, but it is the truth. Like, it is what it is. She's very young. It's not something to worry about. But I do think Julia's, like, ascent was more gradual, right? In the sense that she became spooky in, maybe like mid. It was a long time, I feel like, before she won the strap, right? She was, like, with House of Black for a long time. So I think she became popular in a more gradual way, which I think, to me, is more of a case where I'm like, May 22nd, thank you, Riley. So that means she was in the House of Black for like 18 months before she won the belt. So I think you could be more confident in her appeal, right? I think whether you like her matches or not, she's definitely someone who's got over, and people really like her. With Holly Cameron, I think she's been awesome, and I think they should be really happy with her output, and they should be very excited about what she does next. And she's way exceeded expectations. But it is something that's like basically happened borderline overnight. That's too far, but you get what I'm saying, right? I mean, if I'd have told you 3 months ago people would be campaigning for us to beat Mercedes, you'd be like, all right, what happened? So she's been going for longer than that. Let me be clear, but you get what I'm saying. Um, I think Harley Cameron, like the match was the most important thing. I haven't had a chance to see it. I hear it was pretty good. The more now it becomes about keeping her on TV. And let's be real, if you can't find shit for Harley Cameron to do on your TV, you should just quit because she literally can just do like a 30-second pre-tape and it'll get her more over. So, hopefully she stays in the game and she keeps rolling. I don't think she should have won last night, but I think there will be time down the line to revisit that, and that may be the moment if she can keep this going and if they can keep her in the game. So that's where I stand on that. Again, I haven't seen the match yet. Andrew says, do you think there's a chance Phoenix will be on Mania? What percentage? 10%. I wouldn't. I mean, unless like, I think Penta's gonna be in this like fucking Logan Paul 6-man. I just got this feeling. I can't shake it. With the New Day and those guys, I feel like that's what they're gonna do. I have no insight on that. It's just my feeling. How do you think having a residency or a home arena, i.e. the center stage, impact zone, full sail, affects the programming? Great question. Great question. Well, I think there's a chance for, positives and negatives. I think gimmicks can catch fire with an audience, and fans at home can see the way that audience responds and then buy in. I think the infamous, I say infamous lovingly, but the Blue Pants fiasco is an example of this, right? Like the Full Sail crowd reacted to Blue Pants that way. They went with it a little bit, and then every fan that watched NXT at home said, hold on a second, I think I want to see Blue Pants. It's like that can happen when you're in you have a home arena like that. They can kind of train the audience in a strange way. So yeah, that's kind of a fun thing. You can end up with a great deal of fatigue. The Impact Zone is the best example of that, but I think Full Sail is not far behind in terms of like they've seen everything the guys can do, which is challenging. I think it can be a great tool if you're a patient booker and if you really trust yourself in terms of paying something off. You can train the audience of a certain norm and then shoot an angle that breaks from that, and I think it can be even more shocking in that setting. I think of the the angle they do with it's not at center stage, it's at Techwood. I'm pretty sure it's Techwood, the old Crockett building. The angle with Paul Lee's Midnight Express and kicking a shit at Cornette's Midnight Express, the OGs versus Lane and Eaton. If you go and watch that angle, that shit is like it feels like a legitimate invasion. It's wild. It's fucking wild. You can do that. You can train the audience. This is how we do things, and then when something happens, it feels even more shocking because you're breaking from that. So yeah, there's can be very real positives. However, it can create a great deal of fatigue and just kind of apathy towards actual good professional wrestlers. And the opposite of blue pants, if the crowd also doesn't fight with someone like Andrade, it would affect them. So it's an interesting thing. All right. What was I going to pick out here? There's one about Mariah May, but I've lost it. Okay. I got it here. Here we go. For some Mariah May's booking, I'm worried for her post-Tony stuff. Very half-hearted, very slapdash, very we need to kill time until we get back to this pairing. Disappointing, not surprising. There's a lot of effort put into this particular thing, Tony and Mariah. But I think that particular thing would have a lot more punch if there was effort put into what Mariah did in the meantime, right? Like they kind of failed her in that regard. Not kind of, I think they did fail her in that regard, actually. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a shame. What I think's mostly a shame is how completely unsurprising it is, if I'm honest. I again, you go down these rabbit holes and you feel like you're whining a lot, so I apologise in advance. But is Willow Nightingale, is she around a lot and I'm missing her? Because again, I don't watch closely, so I could just be missing her. I don't know. Dude, that Chicago match with Willow and Chris, that was 5 months ago. And maybe, I know she got injured at one point. I think she got injured at one point. I just think their problem with the follow up is it's so extensive at this point. Um, that I find it hard to sell for it. The private party thing is a great example. I mean, that people can say whatever they want, dude. You can bury the Young Bucks, you can dismiss the Young Bucks. That match where they won the belts from the Young Bucks felt like a fucking happening. It felt like a major deal. It felt as big as those tag titles have felt in a long time. And everyone said it, and everyone kind of, put it over, and every single person watching the show had the same thought. I hope they have some idea for what they do next. And they didn't. There's nothing. There was not a single plan. It's just, I just struggle with that. And at some point, it feels like you're being optimistic at sort of, your own expense. Hopefully, they can prove that wrong. There's been some nice follow up lately. I've been impressed with the Ricochet stuff. Hopefully, Holly Cameron, they keep in the game. And, yeah, we'll see. Again, I never wanted one of those guys who's just fucking, And then AEW did it. I have no interest in that. I find it hard to be surprised when they fail to follow up because that's kind of been a never-ending tale, unfortunately. Mariah May was definitely a victim. I think she'll be fine post-Tony because I think they do really think a lot of her. I just think they failed to actually put the time in to make that evident with her booking, sadly. General thoughts on the state of boxing. This Turkey stuff seems bad for the long-term popularity of the sport, but damn, he's also given us Canelo Bud, which seemed impossible even 2 years ago. It's very difficult. In terms of the fights he's making, you can't really argue with it. I mean, this card on Saturday is unbelievable. It's like 6 fights deep. It's incredible. It does seem bad in the long term because I feel like eventually he's going to just own the sport, and I think that will probably go very poorly. I think that level of control would be dangerous, to be honest. Seems like we were trending, though. Obviously, there are a range of issues to take with the sort of Riyadh season wipeout of the boxing game and how much everything is attached. I mean, even fights that aren't Riyadh season fights, that's in the damn That sponsor's right there in the ring. It's everywhere. They own, Turkey bought Ring magazine, so on and so forth. So it's kind of spooky, but the fights being made are unbelievable, and they are definitely an upgrade. And so I'm kind of torn on what to think of it. To be honest with you, I'm just as a fan. I just watch that. I'm just tuning in and enjoying the fights right now. The long term ramifications are horrifying, but these are the games we play. Will, right? These are the games we play. Okay. Um, what was the other thing I was going to look at here? Okay, I wanted to read this tweet. This is a pretty wild tweet. Bud Matt. So, it's hard to not read this and just visualize Bud Matt, This is not the best timing, I have to say, for the... I can't believe this is real. JJ sent it to me and I checked 4 times. Buddy Matthews appears to have buried the ring here from last night's Grand Slam telecast. He said, "Faults after Grand Slam. If it wasn't a 16x16 shit wrestling ring, I, 1, wouldn't have destroyed my ankle on my entrance due to holes in the padding. And 2, Okada wouldn't have been able to put his foot on the rope and I'd be champion. Shit happens." So what's unbelievable about this, and this is where I love wrestling, is he's done 2 things here at once, hasn't he? I mean, he's kept kayfabe, and in doing so has given himself an out for doing a job. But he's also like very not passive aggressive. No, this is just aggressive. He is aggressively criticized the ring used on this show, which is spectacular. Spectacular stuff. Look, bro, I wasn't in the ring. If it was fucked up, then I'm with him on this, obviously. Jesus wept. Holes in the padding. My God, what is this, Rev Pro, JJ? It's fucking wild. Okay. 16x16. I thought it was an 18x18. I haven't even seen this fucking show. Is this an 18x18 or 16x16? I don't know. I digress. Okay. I'm going to note these arenas. Myself and confirm shoot. Final call for questions. Final call. Folks, there'll be a link. There's not a link. I forgot to do it. There is, if you go to the last video, there'll be a link. You can click the join button. QT said 18x18. Okay. This is going to be a hilarious thing, because this is now, I presume this is now like refueled the debate, which is very funny. Okay. So, the join button, wherever the hell, if you want to be a member, you can see the Hulbert House Show every week. It's very much a Q&A format like this has been for the last 20 minutes or so. We have a lot coming up, as I said. Very, very excited about that. Tomorrow night, I'll do My Match Monday. I'm going to talk about Canadian Stampede. Talk about some matches. Very few, to be honest, but just going to kind of talk. I'm also going to do an extensive breakdown of my TEW save. So, only the big stuff tomorrow for the My Match Monday for JHP members. Tuesday, WCW Live, speaking of TEW. Wednesday night is going to be Grindication. Thursday night is going to be the Retro TV review, Grin Along. Friday, Ring of Honor All-Time Draft. And then still be set on the weekend too. So we're back. We're ready to go. We're locked in. We're fired up. Back to business. Back in business. All of the above. Appreciate you folks. I hope you've enjoyed this show. Went all over the place because of course we did. I hope my bracket wasn't as offensive as the Young Guns. It may or may not have been exactly the same for like half the show. But I digress. Congratulations to Hiroshi Tanahashi, the ace of the universe. Commiserations to Sting and Samoa Joe, who's followed the big losers of the night. Shout out Barry Windham. Ibu owes me money because I paid him to do a essay about the Alexa Bliss pre-tape on Friday. He hadn't done it. He did one about fucking Fraxium instead. You should all go tweet him now. Where is our Lexi essay? You should go do that now. At Backup Hangman. Was there any grapplers who just missed out on your bracket? There was some grapplers who should have been on it that I left off because they were prior winners, like Funk and Punk. Because they've won it before and it gets boring, right? So I did that just to make it more wacky. There's probably people I just straight up forgot, to be honest with you. Like Randy Savage should have definitely been on it. I'm sure there's many people I forgot. I did it very, very just like off the dome, just writing names. Will we ever hang with Hulbert again, or is he retired? Oh no, we for sure will. I like he's doing his thing, and he's he's back tweeting. I've seen, which is great news. Um, been nothing but positive so far. Him being back tweeting, it's great news. So I'm thrilled about that, and I presume he'll be doing shows again soon. He can really do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, my main thing is, and I think those of you that watch Hanging with Hulbert like know this. I don't want the show to be scoops. I never wanted the show to be scoops. It just isn't. It's not the point of the show. Like that's for the other platforms. So I think that'll be the key. Is making sure it's not that. And I think because it's not that, or because it shouldn't be that, and hopefully won't be that, I think it's a lot less of a big deal for us personally to do some Hanging with Hulberts. Like I think for like if you're Fightful or even Wrestle Purist, I definitely get why it's a different thing and it's a more complicated thing, and that's for everyone to work through at their own time. But for what we should be doing, which is just Graps talk, I don't think it's that deep, to be honest. And look, I say this is important. Like I said this to a member a couple weeks ago, maybe. Anyone that doesn't want to watch Ebu's shows, like I get it. Like you're more than welcome to do it with anyone on the platform. Like it's fine. I'm not here to do the thing of like overreaction, bro. Like people can feel however they want, man. Like, that's the least that we can say, right? Just do your thing. Like if you don't want to watch his shows, that's fine by me. Like it is what it is. Um, but from my perspective, it's like I think it makes sense for us to continue to talk about wrestling on occasion on the air. That to me makes sense. So if those shows aren't for you, I get it. No problem. Thankfully, we have hundreds and hundreds of shows, so there'll be other stuff you can watch, and hopefully we'll do something soon. Hopefully, he wants to convert the essay tweet request into a show, which maybe we'll do at some point. We'll let it play out. I think eventually, what we'll actually do legitimately is like we'll just do a bunch of sides, kind of quirky stuff, and then eventually I think we'll do the second wine sessions. But I don't know. I haven't put any plans in place or anything, so we'll let it play out. Right? That's the best thing to do. But he's back on Twitter tweeting about SmackDown and stuff, so you can go check that out if you want to add back up. I think he's private though, actually. So yeah, I don't know if you can actually see it if you don't follow him. I don't know how that works. All right, I have a burner now. So this is the last thing, right? I've had a burner for about 2 years. I never used it, but I deleted it just to kayfabe, political reasons. So look, I haven't looked for everyone who's requested to follow me so far. So if I haven't accepted your request, that's like I don't think you're like an arse or anything. I may have just not seen it. I haven't looked through them. However, once I do look through them, if I still don't accept your request, please don't be offended. Please don't think I think you're annoying. Please don't think that I dislike you or I hate your tweets. I just I don't know what I'm going to be posted on there. So, like, I don't want it to be like everyone who watches the shows. Especially, like, some of my eyes, shit that drives me nuts and I don't want to put on the public timeline or stuff with my family. You get what I'm saying? Like, so just don't take it personally. I don't request you. You feel free to follow request. I may say yes, I may say no. I do not know yet what my approach will be. I'm just saying this here. If you watch the shows and I do not accept your request, please do not feel sort of betrayed by that. I don't mean anything by it. I'm just, you know, I'm trying to do the logical thing. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And tweets, the thing about tweets is they're all very bad. I may never even use it. So we'll let it play out. Like everything else on this show, we're gonna let it play out. Okay. I think that covers it. We're at 2.5 hours. Very long show. As it should be. My match Monday tomorrow. Should be fun. I think we're done though otherwise. Alright. Let's fucking rock. Let's get on out of here. Enjoy whatever it is you're doing tonight. And let's lock in for a big week, folks. Lots ahead of us. Very exciting times. And yeah, gold members, I'll see you tomorrow. Folks here on the Grin, free every week. Friday's show will be the Ring of Honor draft. I'll see you then. Enjoy this outro. Goodbye.